boundary. So he's a yard either way. For the last 2 balls, they could have been 4 apiece. But he's got 3 runs, so 9 off the over now. Extraordinary shot, Mike, to play as an opener when it's in about the 7th over, whatever it is.
He's obviously seen it very well, and he spent a bit of time in the middle in the previous game against Yorkshire, so he obviously feels in good nick and comfortable enough to play shots like that. Like, all he really had to do was pick it up over the infield, but he's timed it so well, it carried all the way to the boundary.
Here's Allison. He's medium pace, comes in, bowls to Selman. Selman goes back and plays it gently into the covers, and they go for a gentle run. So that's a good over so far for Glamorgan. 4, is it, or 5 balls bowled? 5.
Yes, I think as I said earlier, I think it's going to come down in the end to how the Glamorgan batsmen fare against Essex's trio of spinners.
Well, during that mid-innings, old tradition is to milk, as they say, and perhaps this is why they're playing a bit of attacking cricket, these two, so that you can milk the spinners rather than go for them. Allison bowls, and this is played up to a short mid-wicket. That's the end of an expensive over from Allison, and Glamorgan have reached 33 without loss. And I think also, Mike, we were here, the game that Glamorgan to Yorkshire, they were, just to put Paul in the picture, they were going so well, the openers, that they'd put on 121 for the first wicket. Then they went to 181 for 1, and then they collapsed, losing about 7 or 8 wickets for 40 odd, and failed by 4 runs. But these two were very slow at the start, if you remember, so they might have got into their head, look, we must give the side a better start.
Yeah.
There's an argument as well with Essex's strength in this spin.
Yeah.
There could be a chance. All right, I tell you what, let's just get slightly ahead of the rate, or up with the rate,
and
then also when the spinners come on, we don't have to accelerate. We can just, like you say, milk the bowling and pick up what we can without too much stress and pressure.
Jack Plom to continue from the Cathedral Road end, bowls and clipped off the pad single, and that takes the score along to 34 for no wicket at the start of the 7th over. Yes, certainly, I think you're right, Mike, that certainly whatever runs are there, the Glamorgan openers, who are such key members of this Glamorgan batting lineup, they want to, without losing their wickets, just get as many runs in the kitty as they can. Yorkshire were actually going well against Essex on Saturday. They were 68 for 1, and then the spinners came on, and it all changed rapidly as Plom is in bowls, and this ball's lofted over the outfield and for 4 runs over the extra cover boundary by Hamish Rutherford, who moves along to 17 now. Hit that fantastic 6 in the previous over. Wasn't a bad ball from Plom, but Rutherford used his feet to get down the track. 21 he's gone on to now, 38 for no wicket.
Do you think, Paul, that Simon Harmer would be saying, I don't mind this too much, we've got a very good score, I don't mind them tacking, something like would just go wrong?
Yeah, it could be, as Plom is in, bowls, and this ball is hit for 6, and with the absolute minimum of effort from Rutherford, he got a ball that was on leg stump and just eased it over the backward square leg boundary for a full bunger. 44 for no wicket, and Rutherford rockets along to 27. Remember, he had a season with Essex a good few years ago now. He didn't bat as well as this, as far as I remember.
As you 2 young opening bowlers, we've got inexperienced opening bowlers, thinking, right, who was the best bowler for Glamorgan? Hogan. What did he do well that no one else did?
As Plom bowls, and again strays onto leg stump, a little bit short of what Mike is hinting at there, more than hinting, this sort of keeping a consistent just back of the length delivery that is sort of going to hit the top of off stump if the batsman misses it. 44 for none we are. There was no run off that ball.
Yeah, like you say, back of a length, slightly outside off stump, in and around, consistently, very little change up.
Yes, not necessary to try and bowl a variety of deliveries. Consistency, much the better idea. And this one's short and is left alone by Rutherford. Goes through to Adam Wheater, and the score remaining at 44 for no wicket. Another 246 runs needed.
Yeah, good gauge, of course, is the DRS to see how well the side is going. What's that?
Grammarly helps you work more efficiently,
DRS
which makes accomplishing your work goals easier.
So Glamorgan at the moment, 20 runs away, but it's a long, long chase.
And of course, always with DLS, a couple of wickets can suddenly switch things completely around. Good end to the over, and as Mike Powell would say, it's a good end to the over for Essex because that ball is in the perfect position on the line of middle and off, or off stump and just back of the length, and Rutherford just drops a dead bat on it. End of the over then. Glamorgan going along very nicely in 7 overs. They've reached 44 without loss.
He needs to squeeze, and Westley needs to squeeze some overs out to these opening bowlers as well, because you can't bring your spin on too early in the power play. You're almost wasting your main threat.
No, that's right. That's why I was thinking if he is to make a change, and he isn't. It's Tom Westley who's actually captaining the side, and he's going to continue with Ben Allison.
He is, and he comes for his first ball and bowls to Selman, who clips it that usual way down to deep mid-wicket. He's moved his fine leg, who's up in the semicircle, and he's gone out to deep mid-wicket, and the score moves on to 45. Rutherford 27, Selman 16. Still a start that Essex had, of course. They had Nelson on the board, 111 before they lost their first wicket. And then you had a left and a right-hander. What's in his armoury now, Rutherford? As in comes Allison and bowls to him, and he's hit that for 4. Made it into a full toss, chipped it past Min-on, and is raced away for another boundary. And this is a different Hamish Rutherford than what we've seen where he's built innings in the past.
Yeah, a completely different player that we saw against Yorkshire the other day. Looks in great form. A lot of confidence out there. Essex losing control of this game at the moment. Glamorgan well on top second half of this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Allison needs to do at least a couple of things. Rutherford is so strong off his legs, you've got to slant this ball across onto offside, or maybe think of going round the wicket.
There he is again in bowls, and this is pulled for another boundary, and he's having a poor time. Someone can only sympathise with a bowler, a young bowler, and I'm 100% agreement with you, Paul, that I would have taken him off because it's not doing his confidence any good.
No, absolutely. I mean, I said during the last over, after that phenomenal 6 that Rutherford hit, and if you could award more than 6, you'd have given him at least 10. He cleared the boundary so easily. And I said at the time, either Doeschate, Essex don't have many options of the quicker bowlers. Paul Walter would be another one, but Doeschate has been bowling well. I'd brought him into the attack for this over.
In comes Allison again and bowls 4 more down the leg side. The poor chap is having a terrible time here. But Glamorgan won't matter, and Rutherford has chipped it down past the wicketkeeper down the leg side. He just seems to have lost all confidence and all control, and he's now gone for 36.
And at last,
3.4 overs.
At last, he's coming round the wicket, and if he is going to bowl over the wicket, everything's going down leg side. At least he'll be coming from a different angle here.
And he's got a short, fine leg there now. And it's a bit dangerous if he does drift down that way. Rutherford then waits as in comes Allison and bowls to him, and he's clipped that away, and that's going to be 4 more. Oh my word. How many 4s is that? Is that 4 successive 4s off?
It is. It is, and
57, 61. Sorry.
About the only consolation I can think of from an Essex point of view is sometimes a side can actually make too good a start, and that's the only way you could console yourself from an Essex point of view. Runs are just coming in a flood here, and can Allison remember where the offside is?
Here he is again. Round the wicket and bowls, and this time, that's half a dozen more. What an over that is. I think it was 4 4s in the 6 or 5 4s in the 6. Please tap him on the back, somebody, because perhaps I'm old-fashioned, but somebody should go up to the lad and say, come on now, we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think that's 23 off the over.
67 without loss. Rutherford has got 49. Now, Nick is the man there. Will tell me how many balls he's faced, but extraordinary over.
Well, I think there was a single to Selman way back in the mist of time from the first ball of the over, and I think it went 4-4-4-6-4 after that.
27 balls.
27 balls, he's 49 not out. And here comes the first over of spin, but ironically it's not actually Jack Plom who's or rather it is Jack Plom who's been taken off, where I don't know, I felt that Allison's previous over begged that he be given a chance to disappear into the deep and just take stock. So how will Nijjar fare? Slow left arm round the wicket, Cathedral Road end, bowls to Selman, pushes it straight to short mid-wicket, Simon Harmer, no run, but at the moment Glamorgan will be very, very pleased with this fantastic start. 67 for no wicket in just 8.1. And Nijjar bowls down the pitch, and the ball is hit away in the air into the onside, perfectly safely, chased around the boundary. Good stops on Feroze Khushi, but he, in stopping it going over the rope, pushes the ball a little bit away from him, so they can get through for 3 runs to Selman there, who has 19. It's 70 for no wicket.
It was 23 off that over. Do you all hear that?
Swansea.
And Nijjar from the Cathedral Road end will bowl for the first time to left-handed Hamish Rutherford.
27 balls he's faced.
Yep, phenomenal start. There's 1 needed for his 50. I'll make way for Nick Webb at the end of this over.
They don't have to slog from now on, but you stop him from, well, slog.
Well, Essex need wickets, don't they, as Nijjar is in and bowls, and this ball's clipped off the pads but straight to square leg and no run, and there's no doubt about it, the first sort of 2/3 of what we've seen so far was all Essex, but the latter third has been all Glamorgan, and they've come right back into the reckoning here. In fact, I think the bookies at this stage would make them favourite, as Nijjar is in bowls, and this ball's gone a long way up in the air. It's going to land safely, and they're going to be able to come back for 2 runs there, but that was off the outside edge, as Rutherford reaches a very fine and dramatic 50.
29 balls.
But the least convincing shot of his 50 was that one, because it was
29.
only a couple of strides away from being a catch to backward point as he ran back from just inside the circle to about 15 yards outside. Nijjar again bowls, and that ball has been hit away for 4 over long leg. That was too short from Nijjar, and 55 now to Rutherford. This score racing along to 76 without loss.
My word. Yeah, 29 balls for his 50, and the way he's going, he might as well just keep on going, because it's hard to stop.
We're in the 9th over, and Glamorgan are already 45 runs ahead of Duckworth Lewis, as this next ball is clipped for a single down to the skipper Westley at mid-on, and the score goes to 77 for no wicket in just 9 overs. And if Essex do end up winning this game, I can guarantee you they will have taken quite a few wickets, because they'll need to. Nick Webb to take over from me and join Eddie Bevan and Mike Powell.
Thanks very much, Paul. Take a break and we'll be back shortly, and still 1 over to go, and Simon Harmer is one, if not the best off spinner in the country. Not only is he a terrific 4-day bowler, you have to have your wits about you if you to play him well. Anyway, it'll be a good battle to watch this, and he's coming on with an over of the power play, as musical chairs have finished next to me, and Nick is back. Remarkables. Oh, I'm just going to ask him a question, and he's got a lead somewhere in the air next to me. So Glamorgan, after 9 overs, needing 290 to win, now 77 without loss. Hurricane innings of 56 not out from Hamish Rutherford, and Selman, he's no slouch normally, he's on 19, and it'll be Harmer now, and I suspect you'll have to watch this man. We're well away of the rate, so they just don't have to take any chances. Here's his first ball round the wicket, and bowls to Rutherford, and Rutherford plays it and misses. It hits him on the pad. And you feel like saying, if you're a Glamorgan supporter, Mike, just push it around.
Yeah, they've played so well their first 9 overs of this game. They've just earned the right to sort of foot off the accelerator if they wish. Low risk.
Low risk. It's gone up. Oh, he wrong-footed the man at mid-wicket, and he nearly did him in the flight and off the deck, but he got a single.
I'm not necessarily saying low risk. You don't have to score runs. They've earned the right if they wish to do that. But look, the way Rutherford's hitting the ball at the moment, just carry on. Another 10, 15 overs of this could be game over. Break the back of the game.
So it's a terrific start, following up on that 100 and... or was it 121, I think it was, in the last game against Yorkshire. So they've done a very good job, even if one of them is dismissed. Anyway, Selman now, when there's a slip, that'll tell you what Harmer thinks, that he is going to attack, and he knows that he is a terrific off-spinner. He's coming around the wicket and bowls, and that's pushed out up towards mid-off. You heard us talking about milking. What we mean by that is just hitting the one here and you get 4 or 5 and over, just because they're well, as I mentioned, in front of the rate at 9.3 they're going at the moment. As in comes Harmer and bowls to Selman. Selman is forward, pushes it to short mid-on, and what a difference, Mike.
Yeah, he just brings the element of control, doesn't he, Harmer? Still 1 run coming from his 4 balls so far.
Simon Harmer's coming round the wicket and bowls to Selman. Selman just tucked that away out to the onside, straight to a fielder. And once he's got now in his next over, he'll have 4 men out, and that'll suit him perfectly. Harmer bowls, tosses this up to Selman, who's not interested, and just pushes it away. But what excellent over there, and it was needed as far as Essex are concerned. So Glamorgan chasing 291 for victory at 5.8, 78 without loss after the first 10, easily their best start of the season in the power play. Rutherford on 57, Selman is on 19, and Nijjar is going to continue, and an all-spin attack.
Yeah, and this is Essex's strength, isn't it? Middle of the innings, spinners on, so they want to take a bit of control of this stage of the game. Required rate is only 5.3, so it's not a huge rush, and to tick it over with these spinners, it sort of takes the pressure off, doesn't it? It's such a good start from Glamorgan, 78 for none.
Here comes Nijjar then from this Cathedral Road end to bowl, and Rutherford back on his stumps, plays back to the bowler, and there's no run. So Essex turning to their spin, as they have quite often with Harmer in the ranks, and Nijjar as well, and single taken by Rutherford out on the leg side. 79 for no wicket. Glamorgan chasing 290 for victory. Essex bowled out for 289 despite a couple of fine innings. So Alastair Cooke hitting 68 off just 66 deliveries, and Paul Walter 50 off 38. Selman is hit on the pad as he looks to turn on the leg side, inquires but to his partner about the possibility of a leg by. Hamish Rutherford is not hugely interested. Nijjar then, educated in Cardiff, at least partly. Down the wicket comes Selman, and he's mishit that one through mid-wicket. He'll pick up a couple of runs at least. He'll pick up 4 runs. No, it hasn't gone quite. Thought it was running away from Feroze Khushi there, but he just managed to flick it back inside the ropes as he dived.
What he does got, Nick, he knows that mid-on is up. I think he was aiming there, but the spin took it away out to the mid-wicket area.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mishit from Selman, but perfectly safe. 21 to him, 81 for naught. Selman drives up to long off. That's an easy single all day long. 82 without loss here on BBC Sport Online. It takes quite a long time to get ourselves plugged in these days with all the adjustments we have to make, but we will do our best as Nijjar is in from this Cathedral Road end, and Rutherford with a rather ugly swipe sends the ball down to backward square for a single. It's a different game with the spinners on, Mike.
Yeah, did him there, didn't he, Mike, coming down? Yeah.
It's interesting now, Rutherford. He's kept going, hasn't he? He's made that obviously option. Say, right, I've got away with these, but beautifully so far. Well, it's in my favour. This could be my day. It could be get a big 100 here, and if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it very quickly.
But don't you think, now that the best spinner in the country is on, that you should think, well, we're going at 9s, for goodness sake. If he bowls a maiden over, so what? That's another one we'll tick by. Or do you think he should just keep on going? I think just pick up the singles.
I understand what you're saying, because he is a valuable member of this Glamorgan team, being the overseas, and you think, if you're out, it's a big chink in our armour gone, but it's not broke.
We shall see very quickly, because he's about to take the first ball from Harmer, bowling from that far end, the river end, and he bowls, and he's cleared short fine leg. Well, he went for that big hit again. He was very fortunate. It just cleared the man, and already Harmer is causing just a few little problems, but he got 2 runs, 85. Rutherford on to 61 now. Yeah. In comes Harmer round the wicket and bowls, and there's that gone, and that's gone for 4. I thought he was 2 yards off a 6. To answer your question, everybody, he's not holding back. He's going.
Goes on to that quickly. There wasn't that short. But he's so quick on his feet there, Rutherford's quickly bouncing on his back foot and pulling that ball away wide mid-wicket. Great shot.
65 off just 38 balls. As in comes Harmer, bowls to him and comes down the pitch. And beautifully flighted delivery from the off spinner, which Rutherford agreed, because he just nudged it down. This is his second over. Harmer will be just break off then as he comes round the wicket and bowls again, and this time he's pushed it forward. Harmer possibly could be the Hogan of Essex, in as much perhaps he'll bowl 5 or 6 and then be kept back. Mike, who knows?
I think it all depends how long this partnership is on for. But he is here to take a wicket, isn't he? He needs a breakthrough. Essex need a breakthrough.
Harmer bowls, tucked away back into the square for a single, and 4 runs off the over, so that'll do. 89, 90 for no wicket. If you've just joined us, we saw Essex make a formidable 289, and in the first 11 overs, just short of 11 overs, Glamorgan have raced on to 90 without loss, and 66 for Rutherford. Selman 22, but playing his part as this is the last ball of the over. In comes Harmer, tosses this one up. It's played nicely by Selman down to long on for a single. Crowd appreciate that, because it was sensibly played by the Glamorgan opening pair, and 12 overs have gone, 91 without loss. Still a long way to go. 199 needed for victory. The ELS was 46 and Glamorgan at 91, and that just about sums up how the game has gone at the start of this second half, Nick Webb.
Yes, it's been a superb start from Hamish Rutherford in particular, with Nick Selman sailing along in his wake, and I thought that Rutherford would be more circumspect than this and try and maybe play the anchor role and not to play for 40 overs and have others to bat around him, but he's proved the aggressor against the inexperienced Ben Allison in particular, went for 46 in his 4 overs, so questions as to how Tom Westley juggles his attack. Nijjar's been respectable so far, as his first ball is defended by Selman. Having said that, he's not 15 already off 2, but rounds are very respectable compared to the assault on Allison. Nijjar bowls, and a cut shot misses. Does Selman.
Nice action. He gives it a nice bit of air. Good flight from the young man.
Aron Nijjar into bowl to Selman, who drives up to mid-off. Single, because mid-off is deep, and Paul Walter has some way to make in off the boundary. Single taken, 92 for naught. Glamorgan have faltered in a couple of chases, shorter than this, but
wickets. This pitch is better though, isn't it?
This is, best pitch they've played on so far at Sapphire Gardens in this competition by some way.
No, then.
Nijjar halfway through his third over, bowling to Rutherford, who drives it back to the bowler, and there's no run. So next delivery, worked away on the leg side, single, half fielded there by a sprawling Doeschate. That ball cannoned away from him, and it was a comfortable single. 93 for naught here at Fire Gardens. There's these two sides who haven't been in a one-day final for a while. Surprisingly, maybe in Essex's case, driven back past the bowler by Selman, single up to long on. Glamorgan able to just to tick along while they get the measure of the spinners. Aron, Nijjar and Simon Harmer. Glamorgan 2013, their most recent final, a 40-over defeat against Nottinghamshire at Lords, and Essex, well, they beat Kent on their last visit to a one-day final back in 2008. Surprised to see it was that long ago in Essex's case.
So am I, yes. They've done well, though, in all competitions, haven't they? And all these young players, all coming from the academy. The lad who scored 40-odd, Rymell, the two opening bowlers. It's Simon Harmer to continue his third over, bowls to Selman, who pushes it away on the leg side. Doeschate, who we will see bowling before long, I think, will field. Harmer right on the button, right on that length. He's bowling again to right-handed Selman. Selman pushes it away again. It's fielded in the same place. He pushed that through a little bit quicker. The more overs he bowls without taking a wicket, the better it is, of course, for Glamorgan. World-class spinner as he comes in and bowls a bit quicker. And this is played in the gap between backward square and mid-on for a single.
England 4 down at tea, 67 for 4 against India. Bairstow's fallen second victim LBW for Ishant Sharma.
Are they going for them?
Joe Root is 33 not out. Not at 3 and over, they're not, Edward. With 205 to win in the last session, or 6 wickets for India, more realistically.
Harmer, the best bowler, to Rutherford, the best batsman, and he's gone round the wicket and bowls, and down the pitch he comes, and that could be out at long on. It's up in the air and taken at long on, and that is the end, sadly, as far as Glamorgan is concerned, of Rutherford. A magnificent innings by him. Of course, everybody thinking, well, why didn't he just push it around? But no, he's done his job. Harmer has done the job for Essex, as we probably thought he would. But what a launching pad, Mike Powell, that's been for Glamorgan.
That's a great innings for Glamorgan. I mean, a lot of people disappointed. The back of him could have got up to such a flyer, just the 44 balls I think it took to get to his 67. But if you just look at it, that your overseas has got you off to an absolute flyer, and he scored 67. He's done a great job. Well played. But you're right, Harmer, he's just put his mark on the game here, isn't he? He's just into his third over here. Just 10 runs coming from him so far, picking up his first wicket. And Essex supporters have travelled down here today, and there's been quite a lot of them. Hoping this is not going to be his last wicket.
So 8 fours and 3 sixes.
Just go through my head then. I would send Carlson in, and he's coming in.
Yeah,
Mike,
he's batted at 4 so far, with Reingold at 3. Carlson without a score since the first game of the competition, when he hit 60 against Warwickshire.
So that partnership coming up in just 13.4 overs, and well, it couldn't have been a better start. The launching pad is there now. It's up to the rest of the Glamorgan batsmen, which I still call them, Nick. I don't know what you call them. People call them batters.
I've no objection to batters.
I have.
I've been called worse when I've been playing for Glamorgan.
There's Carlson then. 2 balls to go. There's in comes Harmer and bowls, and Carlson clips it off his legs, and he's on the move. Selman rather clips it off his legs, and he crossed, of course, and the ball is in the air. Yeah, another 15 yards that was sailed over for another 5th 6, but this man, as we keep on telling you, is one of the world's best. Carlson then, 96 for 1. Last ball of the over. There's a slip back now. As in comes Harmer, bowls, and this time is dabbed away for a single through the offsides. He's on his way. 97 for 1, and another tidy over, but he has now bowled 3 of his elected 10, and runs are coming quite nicely, even though that he's kept things tight and restricted the advance, as it were.
Yeah, great start for Glamorgan. What a nice position to come in as Kiran Carlson comes in now. 97 runs on the board. Run rate slightly over 5s are required. The run rate actually is just below 7, so brilliant position to come in as a number 3 batsman.
Yeah. Quite a long discussion there, Nick, between the two batsmen. They know that they don't have to take chances now.
Yeah, Selman has batted really well in recent weeks. Can he continue that sort of form with that 140 that Edward saw up at Leicester, and then 92 in the defeat against Yorkshire, and 30-odd not out in between those, as Nijjar bowls, forced away into the offside by Carlson, but there's good diving stop by Plom, and there's no run. 97 for 1 Glamorgan, chasing 290 to win this game. A place at Trent Bridge on Thursday, as clipped away by Carlson off his legs down towards fine leg. It's a pursuit by the fielder there, Rymell, but didn't get particularly near it, and they go through, or they get the 4 runs without having to worry about coming back for a third or anything like that. That's the century up for Glamorgan. 101 for 1 they are, and we're in just the 15th over, chasing 290 to win. Driven by Carlson down the ground to Walter at long off. They take the single. 102 for 1. As Carlson likes to be busy at the crease, keep working the ball around. Scores 60, 15, 21, 2, 11, 4 not out and 1. So he's fallen away a little bit in recent weeks, but an opportunity now to come in with a platform built for him. Selman on strike, Nijjar bowls, and Selman just deflects it gently down to square leg for a single. 103 for 1. Carlson 6 on strike. Nijjar bowls. Carlson drives on the leg side, but straight to Harmer at short mid-wicket, and there's no run. Clouds come overhead, but it's all quite high, not too threatening, as Carlson watches that one carefully onto the bat, defends it back to the bowler. 103 for 1.
Nijjar's got a role to play, hasn't he, with Harmer. What he doesn't want, what Essex don't want, is him leaking lots of runs from the one end while Harmer is bowling so well the other. It sounds really obvious, but if Nijjar can get hit one side of the wicket, it really helps his captain, so he can plug the field near. All of a sudden a few dot balls might come, all of a sudden, who knows, Glamorgan might take a risk. But when you're getting hit both sides and getting hit both sides of the wicket quite comfortably, the job's really easy for Glamorgan.
Harmer is going to continue, as you would expect him to. He's coming around the wicket, interesting, to the right-hander. He's coming around the wicket to Selman and bowls the first ball of the over, which Selman pushes away to that wide-ish mid-on, and there's no run.
Yeah, if Essex had an extra man in on the leg side, they might dry up quite a few of Selman's scoring shots.
In comes Harmer, bowls, quicker delivery. It's clipped away out to deep mid-wicket for a single. And I'm glad that Reingold didn't come in, because he gives the impression, although he's going to be a good player, Mike, that he likes to get on with it and take the odd risk. Would you agree?
Yeah, I see what you're saying if one can become 2 wickets quite quickly, and all of a sudden,
especially with this character bowling.
Yeah.
He's bringing his long on up now, as in comes Harmer, bowls to Kiran Carlson, plays down, and there's a sort of appeal for a stump, and there's nowhere near it.
I've not seen a lot of Reingold back, really. I've only seen him 3 or 4 times, but possibly Carlson might be a more accomplished player of spin.
Unexperienced.
Horses for courses.
In comes Harmer, bowls a little bit quicker again, is pushed away on the offside. He's varying his flight and his length and everything else, pushes his mid on back to the boundary. 2 balls to go to the end of his 4th over. He's only conceded 13, take the valuable wicket of Hamish. Rutherford is in, he comes again. Hammer bowls and that's tossed up but driven back down. Carlson not tempted in any sort of way because there isn't any need for it. Harmer, last ball of the over, comes in again and bowls, and that's pushed away on the offside for Aron. A couple of runs off that over. Glamorgan 105 for 1. I wouldn't say the runs have dried up, but it's slow as scoring, but they're still in a very good position. 105 for 1, 185 needed for victory, and 40 odd runs, and you're halfway there to be an optimist.
Not quite sure who's pushing the figures in, but the WASP figure that just
I saw it, 80 was it?
Popped up on the screen was 85% for Glamorgan. It really isn't that high, is it, Mike?
You two wouldn't be happy, right, if there was 10 runs needed in this game. Pessimistic bunch at the front there.
I'm not, I'm always the optimist.
Glamorgan in a great position here.
Nijjar bowls, and Carlson gave him the charge for a step or two. In the end was forced just to play it away gently through the covers, but still picked up a single for it. And Carlson fond of dancing down the wicket and using his feet against the spinners.
Not against Harmer though.
Nijjar bowls to Selman, who finds that gap up to long off and drives up to Walter for the single.
When I used to work with the dear Don Shepherd, he was the top pessimist. You might have remembered that, Nick. Yeah, still 11 to win, 4 wickets in hand. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
Nijjar bowls to Carlson, who gives him the charge and will get a leg by. Down.
No need.
No. Was there?
No, yes.
Yeah, no, there wasn't. It was a charge by Carlson, and the ball hitting him on the pads, running down to 3rd man, and they just took the single. 108 for 1. Nijjar to Selman, back on his stumps, calls for a quick single, and that was well judged.
It was well judged.
Westley, the captain, who was 2/3 the way back towards the edge of the circle, and Selman taking some of the pace off the ball. Likes a single to mid-on, does Nick Selman? He's on 31. 109 for 1 Glamorgan, 290 the target. Carlson cuts, that's a better shot. He's found the gap between 3rd man and point. There's a man after it, but Jack Plum's charge is in vain as it's just about reached the boundary ropes. And Kiran Carlson moves on to 12 not out, and the total on 113 for 1. Carlson certainly isn't going to be tied down by Nijjar. As the ball is returned to the bowler, eludes him, picked up eventually by Westley. Nijjar back on it from this Cathedral Road end. Is in, and Carlson works him nicely into gap on the leg side for a single. 114 for 1. Edward Bevan will depart to inform listeners in the language of heaven. And Mike Powell alongside me here on BBC Sport Online. 114 for 1 off 17, just over 1/3 the way through the innings, and Glamorgan have more than 1/3 of the runs required.
Yeah, they're doing great at the moment, and obviously Edward Bevan would rather Glamorgan just, as he puts it, milking singles and picking up what they can, low risk, but they've batted so well at the top of the order, they've got the option to do that if they wish, or they've also got the option to carry on how they're doing and keeping well above the run rate.
Harmer bowls. Carlson comes down the wicket and hammers him over long off for 6 into the 6th row of the stand at the River Taff end.
See, I'd go with the second option. I think they're doing so well at what they do in the moment. They've almost got Selman, who's the sort of anchor man, really. He's on 31 at the moment from the 17 overs that have been bowled in this game. And you had it with Rutherford. Now you've got it with Kiran Carlson, who are almost like the enforcer. So they're almost dovetailing together quite nicely.
As in comes Harmer, right arm around, bowls to Carlson, down leg side, wide called by umpire Burns.
Harmer's not happy with it. He's put around the wicket, he's ended up down leg side, well down leg side, and he's given the double teapot, both hands on his hips at the umpire in disagreement. 120
for 1. Harmer bowls, and Carlson plays defensively on the offside, and there's no run. There's just have to swap things round a little bit once I get myself sorted out, as Carlson defends back to the bowler, and we'll get Paul back in a couple of minutes. But Glamorgan mixing now defence with the odd bit of aggression from Carlson, with Selman looking to play more of a sheet anchor maybe. Harmer bowls, and Carlson turns that comfortably through the gap at mid-on, up to long-on. Single taken, relatively a low-risk scoring area that for Glamorgan at the moment. As Harmer will come in and bowl to Selman, who works it between the two fielders on the leg side and calls Carlson through for a run. And it was a well-judged single, because it was halfway between mid-wicket and square leg. 123 for 1. Glamorgan chasing 290 to win. Harmer to Carlson, who defends that one out to mid-wicket. And that is the end of Simon Harmer's over. 18 gone, 123 for 1. And a word from Mike while I try and sort Paul and myself out.
Yeah, Essex, they found themselves a bit of a knot here, and they need to find 5 tight overs from somewhere. At the moment, Harmer's been very good, and Carlson's trying to be quite aggressive and counteract that as well, but they do need to find 5 overs from somewhere. We've got a change of bowling here from the Cathedral Road. We've got the experienced Ryan Doeschate coming on. He's just marking his run up there. Selman will be on strike, who's on 32. Kiran Carlson has rushed through onto 20. Required rate is just over 5. The run rate at the moment is just under 7. It's in a really, really good position, Glamorgan.
So Doeschate coming into the attack now to replace Aron Nijjar at the Cathedral Road end. And Glamorgan, as Mike's just said, very much calling the shots at the moment, both literally and metaphorically. 123 for 1. Doeschate in bowls, and this ball's tickled down to fine leg for a single by Nick Selman. Moves along to 33, 124 for 1, and we're only in the 19th over. Target 290, and Doeschate, who's bowled well for Essex recently, needs to produce another good spell here. As Mike was saying, they need to keep their lid on the scoring rate for a spell of 4 or 5 overs. No better way to do that than to take a couple of quick wickets. Doeschate in bowls, and that ball is absolutely smashed towards the cover boundary, but fortunately for Essex, straight at Aron Nijjar, who keeps it down to a single. 125 for 1, and Carlson up to 21. Very quick runs he's made as well, taking over the mantle from Hamish Rutherford, out for 67 to Harmer. Doeschate, loose delivery, but it goes in the air. 1 bounce down to third man, another single. 126 for 1. Selman to 34.
Update for BBC Radio Wales listeners to come very shortly.
Selman playing the sheet anchor role here, while first Rutherford and now the skipper Carlson go after this Essex attack, who've certainly been taken aback with the onslaught. Doeschate bowls, run down to third man, another single. 127 for 1, and Carlson up to 22. Nick will do his update for BBC Wales at any moment, but that moment hasn't quite arrived yet, as Doeschate from the Cathedral Road end is on his way again, and this time to bowl to Nick Selman. And again, single coming off every ball. Might even be able to make 2 here, but no, they decide, I think wisely, to prop on 1. 128 for 1, and Selman 35, Carlson back into strike. These two rotating the strike to perfection in this over, the last ball of which is about to be bowled by Doeschate. Handsfall's driven down to mid-on. For once there isn't a single as the update comes.
Update for the radios come. Glamorgan going nicely on 128 for 1, chasing 290 to beat Essex. Hamish Rutherford, their New Zealand opener, hit a dazzling 67 off just 44 balls, including 3 sixes to get them off to a flyer. Selman is playing the anchor role on 35 not out. Kiran Carlson has started aggressively as well. He's on 22 not out. Earlier, Essex fell away after dominating for most of their innings. Alastair Cooke top scored with 68. Joe Cooke took 5 wickets for Glamorgan, chasing 290. Glamorgan 128 for 1 after 19. As Harmer bowls and Selman drives to mid-off, and there's no run. England just restarting after tea on 67 for 4 as Selman drives to long on and takes a single, 129 for 1. I've managed to end up here with 2 pairs of headphones on, and if I try and take one of them off, I'm going to throttle myself, I think. It's a complication of trying to get 4 pairs of headphones into a 3-channel unit for the techies among you. Harmer is in to bowl, and Carlson straight drives back to the bowler, who fields in his follow-through. And there's no run.
67 for 5 make that, as England now, so far from looking to win the game. Wicket for Jasprit Bumrah. I think that might even be Root who's gone. Yeah, I thought it was.
Carlson drives to long on, takes a single, 130 for 1 Glamorgan. Joe Cooke edging to slip now, so England are in danger of losing that match, with India requiring 5 wickets for victory after a tail-end thrash for their 9th wicket pair really turned the game round. Harmer bowls and Selman drives it back to the bowler. Tell how straight he's bowling from the number of balls that are being driven back to the South African spinner. Wearing shades, light hair from the River Taff end, and Selman tries to work into the gap on the leg side, but can't quite find the area he's looking for. There's a diving stop at mid-wicket, and it's 130 for 1 after 20 overs here on BBC Sport Online. 160 needed off 30 at 5.33.
Ball very much in Glamorgan's court here now. Obviously, for Essex, they need to. I noticed Tom Westley beginning to warm up and over to a go, so I think he will come into the attack before all that much longer. But it isn't as if there's much turn there for the spinners, if any. Harmer got his wicket as much through flight as anything. So many wickets that he gets, and not a case of the ball turning all that much, but batsmen who have a go at him tend to not quite middle the ball, and the ball can go a long way up in the air, as it did with the dismissal of Rutherford, as Doeschate bowls from the Cathedral Road end, and a routine single for Kiran Carlson down to third man, 24 to him, 131 for 1, and we are just in the 21st over. The only way Essex, I think can win this game now is to virtually bowl Glamorgan out, and on a pitch that's playing pretty true, that is not going to be at all easy, as Doeschate is in and bowls, and this ball played to backward point by Selman, didn't come out of the middle of the bat. There is no run. 131 for 1. Doeschate, who hasn't had his usual good season with the bat, but has been bowling well in this competition. Comes in again, got a 4-wicket haul the other day, bowls, and that again wasn't actually out of the middle of the bat. Little evidence that Doeschate is getting this ball to move around a little bit. Comes off a thick inside edge to mid-wicket, where the shot was aimed fairly straight. And score remaining 131 for 1 halfway through the 21st over. Fantastic start by Glamorgan, thanks to an explosive 67 from 44 balls from Hamish Rutherford, once of Essex, as this next ball is played out to deep cover. just be a single, 132 for 1. And Carlson up to 24.
Yeah, Hamish Rutherford did well against Glamorgan for a couple of other counties, taking a T20 century off them for Worcestershire last season at New Road, and also saving a championship match for Derbyshire with a long century.
Tender Scouter again in the bowls, and that ball is flicked away off the hip by Carlson. Just be another single, and 24 to him. Selman comes back onto strike. 25 to Carlson, I should have said. 133 for 1 with 1 ball left of the 25th over. And Glamorgan have now got such a start that they can afford just to pick off the singles and still be well ahead of Duckworth Lewis. And that ball is played down for 4 runs, never mind singles. Tender Scouter straying down leg side, 137 for 1. Selman moving on to 41. The Duckworth Lewis pass score had been, it's just 1 ball ahead of wherever you are. So before that ball was bowled, Glamorgan on their calculations should have been 92. And as it is, they're 137 for 1. So that's a handsome advantage at this stage of 45. If 2 or 3 wickets were to go down quickly, then that advantage would be whittled away, as we're now about to see Tom Westley, the captain, introduce himself at the River Taff end.
Yeah, still somewhat surprised to see that the Wasp has soared the win probability for the batting side Glamorgan to 93%. And really, if you look at the way that the Essex lower order fell away, then Glamorgan have been known to struggle in the chase this season. 137 for 1 as Harmer bowls, and Carlson clubs it hard to short mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Yes, I agree with the point you're hinting at there. As much as Glamorgan are in a great position to win it, but I wouldn't put it above 80% at this stage, because they're not actually halfway to the requirement yet.
There we are. Wasp needs to wobble his head a bit as Carlson comes down the wicket and drives wide of mid-off. He'll pick up 4 runs. It was aerial, but I think he knew what he was doing there, and it skimmed away for 4 up to the River Taff end.
Selman beginning to play attacking shots of his own here now. I'm not so sure that he's confining himself to the anchor role anymore. A couple of recent boundaries have seen him go up to 41.
Carlson on 29 with that boundary as he clubs this one back to the bowler, and Selman at the non-strikers end turns and falls over in the crease just to make sure that he wasn't run out on the cruelest of ways to go. Carlson pulls down to backward square and just pick up a single. I think he probably meant to hit that one a little bit finer. Plom doing the fielding, coming in from the ropes on the pavilion side of the ground. As next delivery, Selman forward, but playing gently to mid-wicket, and there's no run. Glamorgan can afford a few dot balls here and there because they are so far ahead of the Duckworth Lewis method, as Selman's just turned a little bit inside out, and Westley first over costing him 5 runs. So that's neither here nor there really from the Essex point of view. Required run rate for Glamorgan is 5.3, but having said which, they left themselves with just a little bit too much to do against Yorkshire the other day. It was a slower and more difficult pitch, but even though they had wickets in hand, they let the run rate mount, and they want one to do that. It's 5.3 required at the moment.
No, particularly as Essex slowed right down in the last 10 overs as the ball went softer. So they're probably very well advised. It's as though they've made a determined mental effort to be ahead of that position where they won't have to rely on too much acceleration in the closing stages. This first ball of a new over from the Cathedral Road end from Tender Scouter just brushes the pad of Carlson there, or otherwise it would have been a wide. The umpire being egged on to signal a wide, but it just brushed the pad. The next ball is carted over mid-wicket for 4, and that takes the score to 146 for 1, and now Glamorgan in short order are more than halfway to the 290 target, and they are 146 for 1, and at the moment Essex don't really know where the next wicket's coming from.
Yes, it's been a nice aggressive show from Kiran Carlson, a real captain's role, isn't it, to take up the impetus from Rutherford.
50 partnership came up with that boundary, and there'll be at least one more onto the score here, and it will just be the one as it's run down toward third man, intercepted by backward point. 147 for 1, and Carlson 35. We can see how he's dominated a partnership that's so far worth 52. He's got 35 of them. Selman on 41. Another 143 needed, 9 wickets in hand, and this is only the 23rd over. And here's another run down to long leg, and score to 148 for 1 in the 23rd over, as Essex search desperately for another breakthrough.
Yeah, Glamorgan were Essex were 131 for 1 at halfway, so Glamorgan already some way past that.
And Doeschate again. Bowls, and this ball is pulled away. One bounce down to Feroze Khushi on the square leg boundary. He's fielded very well and saved quite a few runs in that area, but one more makes the score 149 for 1. Carlson to 36. Selman back into strike on 42, and Glamorgan, who are probably second favourites, even though they won their group and Essex were only second in theirs. Certainly at one stage in the Essex innings they were second favourites, but they're very much hot favourites now as they get another run down into the direction of backward square leg, and the over ends with Glamorgan posting 150 in just 23 overs, and a terrific effort here from Rutherford, who hit an explosive 67 from 44 balls, while Nick Selman has played more conservatively but very effectively for 43 not out, and Carlson taking up the cudgels where Rutherford left off, a very quick 36 not out.
Yes, it's a well-judged innings from Glamorgan so far, but still 190 runs to get. 140 runs to get. 27 overs in which to do so. Tom Westley then from the River Tough end is bowling his off-spin right arm around the wicket, and Selman just nudges it into the gap on the leg side, just backward of square for a single. It's young Benkenstein, I believe.
It is.
Substitute fielder.
Luke Benkenstein, number 99 on his back. Did play one game up at Durham.
Westley bowls, and Carlson is brilliantly caught at backward point by a diving Josh Rymell to add to his contribution with the bat. He's taken a fine catch, and Essex have their second wicket. Kiran Carlson has to go for a run of ball 36 as he looked to force that one away on the offside. Thought he'd got it wide of the fielder, but a sprawling diving catch by the young opening bat.
Was indeed, and boy did Essex need that. It's not as if the dismissal of Carlson means that they're suddenly right back in the game, but they're more in it than they were before the excellence of Rymell's fielding there. And certainly Tom Westley, we've been saying, is not to be underestimated. He tends not to prove very expensive, and has begun picking up wickets. As I say, he got 3 on Saturday and gets rid of Carlson for 36, but one of the big differences between the two sides, while both have hit the ball frequently in the air, Essex increasingly tended to pick out the fielders when they were hitting it in the air, and until just now Glamorgan had not done so to that extent. But Essex will just have to hope that that will happen increasingly, particularly as if they can keep taking wickets, that will make a big difference. It's not as easy for a batsman coming in as it is for those who are already well entrenched. But having said that, Carlson didn't find any difficulty in immediately finding his stride. We have the left-handed Billy Root to the crease now to join Nick Selman, 151 for 2.
So, left-handed Root facing up to Westley and getting off the mark first ball, playing out towards square leg. Khushi in front of that empty grandstand. Not much danger of getting heckled in the sector of the ground that he's patrolling at the moment. 152 for 2. Westley into Selman, who drives back to the bowler, and there's no run. Wasp at 91% is still overly biased in Glamorgan's favour, I feel. Selman works on the leg side for a single. As throw comes in from Plom, 153 for 2. Selman to 45 not out.
Well, singles are so readily available here that Glamorgan could win it, keeping the ball on the carpet and just pushing those singles.
This Root pushes forward back to the bowler. Having said which, they brought a few extra in for the new batsman, so good captaincy from Westley to keep attacking and try and get stop Root from getting off to the sort of flying start that both Rutherford and Carlson did.
Yeah, no, you make a very good point. There's 7 men inside the circle. Good cricket from Westley there. He may not be able to leave it at that if Root gets going, but really Essex have got to try and pressurise any new batsmen that come in, for the reason that I was just making, that if they don't go on to the offensive against new batsmen, then they can just push their way to 6 runs and over in singles, and Glamorgan need considerably under that figure to go on and win this game. So good cricket from Westley, not least because he's got the breakthrough. But Doeschate will begin a new over from the Cathedral Road end, initially to Nick Selman, and just strays onto leg stump. Well, there's an appeal for LBW, but I'm afraid very optimistic. It was clearly missing leg stump, and Doeschate just not quite getting his line right, and they go through and take the run there. I didn't just notice whether that was signalled a leg by, but 154 for 2.
I think he was already on 45.
Yeah, so leg by. Doeschate now going to come round the wicket to the left-handed Billy Root. 45 to Selman, 1 to Root, and Doeschate to Root with 5 men inside the circle. Bowls, and this ball goes past backward point, now towards the boundary. Will it be cut off? Just good diving stop out in the distance, and they come back for a second run, but 156 for 2, and Root goes up to 3.
Yes, his form reasonable this season in this competition. 188 runs, average of 31 coming into this.
And this next ball is caught at a point, and Root departs, and the moment he'd hit it, he sort of gasped in horror at what he'd done. And that is, I'm not saying it was a poor delivery in the least, but it's really a rather cheap wicket, because a rash shot for a man who'd only just come to crease, and that is precisely how Glamorgan could yet lose a game that's very much in their power to win, with a little bit of carelessness. Didn't need to hit that in the air, go straight to backward point, and I remember Essex lost at least 1 wicket in precisely that fashion, with precisely that carelessness, and it is the way, if you're not careful, that you can usher the other side back into the match.
Yes, it's been a strange old game, hasn't it, in terms of the balance between bat and ball. Essex looked well on top and then fell away in the closing stages of their innings to leave Glamorgan with a chaseable target. Glamorgan looked to be very, very strong favourites, and all of a sudden they've lost a couple of wickets in the space of a couple of overs, and Essex very much now back in it, with Glamorgan's required run rate 5.3 still, Well, this is what happened against Yorkshire, albeit on a slower pitch here last Thursday. They faced this sort of required run rate and then saw it mount to 6 and 7, and it proved just a little bit too much for the lower order. So Stephen Reingold is in at 5, having dropped down from 3, and well, he's averaging 23, top score of 40. It was the substitute Benkenstein who took the catch. It's a fairly routine one, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know who he's on for at the moment. Just looking to see if I can see Alastair Cooke out there. One possibility he might have gone off for a rest.
Look, I know he's the ninth of the realm, but
yes,
he's not allowed to put his feet up mid-match.
But we must be careful because it may not be him. I just immediately. Anyway, Doeschate to bowl to Reingold. And Reingold pushes this one to backward point. There will be no run there as Benkenstein fields, and 156 for 3. But I think it illustrates, Nick, both of us felt that the Wasp was nothing to do with partisanship either way on our part, but 90% was a little bit ridiculous because we all know that cricket changes if wickets go down, and Glamorgan have now lost 2 quite quickly. Doeschate in bowls. There'll be 1 run here to see Reingold underway. So he pushes the ball past short mid-wicket, and Khushi comes in off the mid-wicket fence to keep it to a single. 157 for 3, and we're at the over at the end of which, just 1 ball of it left, we will be halfway through the innings. And Doeschate in and bowls, and this ball's pleasantly driven by Selman, on whom quite a lot rests now, I would suggest, as Westley fields at deep mid-off. And 157 for 3 in 25 overs are Glamorgan, still in a very good position, but they'll be disappointed at losing. Carlson caught Rymell bowled Westley 36. Root caught sub Benkenstein off Doeschate for 3. Both caught in a very similar position at backward point, and you could say really that neither need have been a wicket, I think it's fair to say, Nick.
Well, Carlson was getting on with it, as was his modus operandi from the start, but Root, well, sorry Billy, but it was a soft dismissal, just cracking a short ball straight to the fielder.
And I think he'd agree with you, actually, being an honest man.
So it's the numberless Reingold on strike. Tom Westley, 1 for 8 in his 2 overs, bowls, and Reingold plays it back to the bowler. And how often have we said that this afternoon, and indeed this morning? Bowlers, spinners especially, doing a lot of return fielding. Westley in, and Reingold, he's getting back on his stumps. Needs to be careful there.
Yeah, quite agree. You might be better advised to just play a forward defensive rather than backward defensive.
Reingold bowls. Westley bowls. Reingold down the wicket, drives up to long on, and will take a single. 158 for 3. 290 is the target. We're now in the second half of the Glamorgan innings. They just need to keep a little eye on the run rate. Selman comes down the pitch and then has to adjust his shot at the last minute as Westley tried to fire one down his leg side, and in the end Selman did that and got a single to square leg.
Yeah, good cricket all round, actually.
Yeah, I thought for a moment maybe that there's a stumping on as Reingold drives up to long on. That's a profitable area for the batsman to milk singles, as really both sides have had mid-on back at long on, if you like, throughout. 160 for 3. Westley drags that one down. Selman works it away on the leg side. Single taken. 161 for 3. Selman is 47 not out, and we're through 26 out of the 50 overs. Selman so far, by the way, has faced, when it comes up, 67 deliveries, so he's just hit the 3 fours. It'll be interesting to see whether he tries to accelerate now, whether the inexperienced Reingold's joining him, or whether the new man is told to get on with it as soon as he's seen a couple of overs out.
Well, he certainly can get on with it, Selman. You're mentioning an innings of 140 recently, and he won the T20 game for Glamorgan here against Essex as Doeschate in bowls, and this ball is played out wide of mid-off. There'll be 2 runs here, won't go to the boundary, and Fieldsman just a little bit slow, Tom Westley, to set off after that. 163 for 3. Yes, I remember now. It was Labuschagne and Selman who put on a big partnership. They didn't have too many to chase Glamorgan when Essex came out. I think Essex got about 130 odd, and Glamorgan won easily with that partnership. Now the next ball is played down the ground. There's no run though, because Walter is there at mid-on. 163 for 3 in 26.2, and 127 are needed in the remaining 23.4 overs for Glamorgan. We could have a very, very exciting close finish indeed here. Doeschate in. Bowls, the ball's pushed into the offside, and there is another run, and that is Selman's 50, hence the applause. Fine effort, never really looked in any trouble at all, and obviously likes batting against Essex, and the score to 164 for 3 in the 27th over.
70 balls, 3 boundaries for Nick Selman, continuing his rich vein of form in recent matches.
Doeschate in, and bowls to Reingold, pushes this down to third man, single, takes him along to 4, and the score to 165 for 3. 4 balls gone in the 27th over, and Essex, who made 289 all out, 49.4 overs, with Cooke top scoring with 68, a very good 50 from Paul Walter, 44 from Josh Rymell. Here is Doeschate again, in and bowls, and this ball keeps a little bit low, and Selman just takes a little bit of way off the shot, deliberately plays it down to long leg for a single, and that's 166 for 3. Selman moves on to 51, and Reingold back in strike on 4. Doeschate to complete this over. This will be his 6th over. Sorry, 5th over is in bowls, and that ball may be just off the pad. I think there may have been a bit of bat in it. We'll wait and see. Single down to fine leg, and yep, it's a leg by. So 167 for 3 at the end of the 27th over. Reingold has 4, Selman 51, and 23 overs remain, another 123 needed.
Just wondering how Essex will manage their bowling in the death overs, really, because poor young Ben Allison got a right caning, 4 overs, 0 for 46. But Essex relatively short of seam bowling with Plom and Doeschate. Might they save a couple from Doeschate for the death over?
Could do. They do have an option of the left arm bowler Paul Walter.
Oh, yeah.
Whether he'll actually bowl, I'm not so sure, because he hasn't had a great time with the ball this season, but he can bowl well.
Here is Tom Westley, and there's a reverse sweep from Reingold. It didn't really middle it, and it just ran down, trickled down to third man for a single, with Benkenstein coming round from backward point. 168 for 3. Down the wicket comes Selman, drives out into the leg side. There should be 2 runs here if they've got their skates on. Selman, didn't run the first one fast enough, and Reingold in the end agreed not. 169 for 3. Reingold 5, Selman 52. Down the wicket comes Reingold, drives to mid-off, getting himself in a little bit of a muddle. Stephen Reingold, inexperienced player, but he's done pretty well, really, as he goes for a big swing, and there's an appeal, probably pitched outside leg. Westley looks somewhat aggrieved. Yeah, pitched outside leg, looking at the replay. There's no particular reason to look aggrieved there. The Essex skipper, 169 for 3.
I think all bowlers are well trained to look aggrieved if they don't get a decision.
Putting a bit of pressure on the umpire for next time.
Yes, triumphant if they do.
Westley bowls, Reingold pulls. Has got a decent bat on that one, but has picked out the fielder Plom at backward square. And they just get the single, 170 for 3. Reingold to 6, the batting to come. Tom Cullen, wicket-keeper batsman, maybe a little bit high at 6, though he'd hate me saying that. Joe Cooke, Andrew Salter, middle or the all-rounders as Selman plays the last ball of Westley's over, a 2 mid-wicket. There is no run. It's 170 for 3, and Glamorgan need a further 120 off 22 overs here to get a final place in this one-day cup competition on Thursday against Durham or Surrey. Essex, you feel, probably need to take the 7 wickets.
Yes, I think you're right, and certainly most of 7. They might get away with sort of 5 or 6. But, it's Aron Nijjar coming back to replace Doeschate at the Cathedral Road end, and good over that last one from Westley, but from the economy point of view, just the 3 singles from it. And he is a wily bowler, better than the number of overs he's actually bowled. I've often felt that before he was captain, he wasn't bowled when he might have been. And of course, as we know, when someone is captain, they're a little bit anxious not to make it look as if they're hogging the limelight, sort of thing. Anyway, Nijjar with his slow left arm is about to come around the wicket. He's bowled half his potential here, 5 overs, and this first ball is going to produce just the 1 run. It was nearly 2 as Harmer chased back from short mid-wicket, and 171 for 3, and Selman 52 and Reingold 7, and Nijjar just waiting while 1 or 2 adjustments are made to the field. Will now bowl to Nick Selman on 52. Good use of the feet, and he can take a single here. He just hesitated to see if it would go past the infield fielders and down to Tom Westley at long on. It does, and he gets his single, and he moves to 53. 172 for 3. And Nijjar on this slow approach that he has just ambles up 3 or 4 paces. This ball is played by Reingold to Walter on the long off boundary. Single, 173 for 3. And these two played it well in this partnership, keeping the ball firmly on the ground. And next delivery is tossed up a little bit, and I knew it'd be hit in the air if I'd said that. And very nearly a catch to Jack Plom coming off the cover boundary. And he was only a couple of strides short of being able to make a catch of that, and he's got a good pair of hands. They get a single, but that's one of the only times Selman has hit the ball in the air anywhere near a fieldsman. It was nearly his undoing. 174 for 3, and a bit of a slog here from Reingold produces a run as he eventually gets the ball to deep backward square leg, and Khushi 175 for 3, and Reingold up to 9.
Yes, he's not quite timing the ball as yet, Reingold. He's played solid rather than spectacular innings so far for Glamorgan.
Next delivery, and using his feet again, this ball's hit in the air down towards long on. They can come back for 2 runs. Selman, the man on strike, will move along to 56 and runs off just about every ball of that over. 177 for 3, 7 off the over. And Glamorgan, if they keep the heads and don't hole out, then they should be on their way to Trent Bridge on Thursday, but we have to see if that's the case, because Selman wasn't far off holding out in that over, and Essex will still feel they're in with a chance.
Absolutely. A few smiling faces on the Glamorgan players area. I would say balcony, but they're actually not using the dressing rooms yet. The Glamorgan players in an area that's usually a bar area, with the visiting side allocated both dressing rooms on the second floor here at Sapphire Gardens. So Westley, 4 overs, 1 for 15, doing a fine job so far for his side, and Reingold driven back on his stumps and playing it back to the bowler. We'll have that phrase recorded on tape. Just push a little button to save our voices. 177 for 3, and Glamorgan need 113 to win. Reverse sweep from Reingold just finds the fielder Bankenstein at short third man. Shame for the batsman, who actually hit that one quite well, but straight to the fielder would have got 4 runs a couple of metres either side. Westley to Reingold. Oh dear, this time picks up fine leg as Rymell plunges to his right to do the fielding. And Reingold must have been thinking in just a slightly parallel universe. He'd have another couple of boundaries to his credit. Credit to Westley for getting his fielders in the right places and bowling to them. Reingold drives to mid-off. He wants a quick single here, and that was a slightly risky one if that had been picked up cleanly. And that was really the pressure, I think, of 3-dot balls building up on Reingold. He wanted to get off strike.
Yes, Harmer might have been better leaving that to mid-off, who could then have had a shy, but I think they were safely home anyway.
Westley round the wicket to Selman, who knocks it into a gap on the leg side. Takes the single down to square leg. 179 for 3. 2 off the over so far. That wasp is still flying too high at 87% for Glamorgan's chances. Reingold back on his stumps again, driving back to the bowler. So an excellent over from Tom Westley to keep the pressure on Glamorgan. 30 overs gone. There are 20 therefore left, and Glamorgan need 111 to win this game. Well, not quite in the balance, but Essex still in there and fighting.
Well, Westley is doing rather well for Essex here, because he bowled 5 overs and taken 1 for 17, and compared to many of the bowling figures, those read very respectably indeed. The latest score from Lords is England 75 for 5.
Batting out for the draw, or attempting to.
Yep. From the Cathedral Road end, Aron Nijjar bowls, and the ball played by Selman out to Ben Allison, coming off the cover boundary. 180 for 3, with now the 31st over being bowled. Nijjar, slow left arm around the wicket, bowling to Steve Reingold, and that has bowled him. And Reingold had an enormous yahoo at that. It kept very low, there's no doubt about that, but I also think he took his eye off it, and not a wise idea, as he departs for 10, bowled by Nijjar, and Glamorgan lose their 4th wicket with 180 on the board.
Yeah, that did keep low. I think with a normal sort of bounce, he might have got the bottom of the bat on this, although it wasn't a great shot anyway. But that one really went through about shin height.
Yeah.
Pitch starting to wear a little bit, and Essex's slow bowlers have all been in the match. A wicket apiece for Harmer, Nijjar and Westley, and one for the medium pace of Doeschate. And after that flying start of 95 for the first wicket, with the opening seamers really getting quite a lot of tap, then Glamorgan have struggled somewhat, and I would suspect that wasp ought to be heading downwards to about 60% at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Nick, and I think a little bit of credit for that wicket does go to Tom Westley, who bowled 3 consecutive dot balls at one stage in Wesley's previous over, and I just sensed that Selman was beginning to think, I've got to do something now to get a move on with this, partly in recognition of the fact Selman clearly is quite understandably looking to bat through the innings while those around him take the risks. And well, he took a risk too many, and he was unlucky in that it kept so low, but it is fatal in cricket to take your eye off the ball, and in that fashion, as Nijjar is in the bowl to Tom Cullen, and Cullen uses the feet well to come down and steer the ball back down the pitch That's the one where we press the button and you know it's just a regulation back to the bowler. No run, 180 for 4, 31st over. Next delivery just tickled round the corner. That'll be good enough to get Cullen off the mark. He won't look for a second here, as Khushi has done sterling work out in the deep on the leg side when the batsman is a right-hander. Again, keeps it down to 181 for 4, Cullen off the mark.
Yes, he's a hard worker, Tom Cullen, at the crease, put it like that.
Nijjar bowls, and they get a single here as Selman just tickles it round the corner to backward square leg. He moves along to 59 and the score to 182 for 4 with 1 ball left of the 31st.
Yeah, Cullen can score quite quickly, but he's likely to be working it around for 1s and 2s rather than volleys of boundaries.
Nijjar in bowls to him, dot ball to end the over. Simon Hamish short mid-wicket. 182 for 4, so further 108 are needed in 19 overs if Glamorgan are to make it to the final, only 2 days away at Trent Bridge.
Ludicrous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ludicrous, as Mike Powell will return to the fray. Revitalised, recaffinised, and is it my turn or yours to give way to?
I think
Edward?
it's yours, actually.
Okay, I'll head off and do a little bit of writing, etc., and try not to get in too much of a tangle. Take us away, Paul.
And this is appeal for catch, and he's out, and that is the end of Selman, and it's 182 for 5 as he goes caught behind for 59. He doesn't want to go, and just have a look at that again in a moment, but it's a vital breakthrough from an Essex point of view, and that Wasp now, if anything, might even be veering towards Essex as he flicked at one down leg side that would have been a wide if he'd left it, and Mike burns his finger, goes up.
Always consider yourself unlucky as a batsman there, Paul. Anything down leg side. He just got through a little bit quicker, didn't he? And a skinny edge down leg side. In fairness, a good bit of work from Wheater down leg side as well. Any catch down leg side for the keeper, especially up to the wicket, is a good bit of work. So deserved. Essex, they've done quite nicely as of late. Actually, when I was out there in the stand just watching the game, I think Nick Webb was happy for me to get back in here. It's a good luck charm. When I'm in here, Glamorgan do well. When I'm out of here, not so. So good spell from Essex, climbing themselves back into this game. That run rate is slightly fallen now, just below 6s. Required rate is just under 6s. That's the figures. You want to keep your eye on if you're a Glamorgan batsman. Try and keep that rate in and around at 6. If it is, you're going to be all right come the end of this game.
Well, 4 of the 5 wickets have gone to the Essex spinners, and always going to be the case, I think, that if Essex were to get among the Glamorgan batsmen, the spinners would be the key element here. The other wickets gone to Doeschate, and 182 for 5, and now it's not just that the 5th wicket's gone down, it's that the sheet anchor man has gone, and Glamorgan have that most unwanted of situations when they have been going like the clappers, but now 2 new batsmen having to start together.
Yeah, you've got Cooke just come to the crease, be facing the first ball, left-handed Cooke.
As Westley, who's really bowled well today, is in and bowls to him, and ball played back to the bowler, Joe Cooke, who took 5 wickets expensively, but even so he did a grand job in the end because he stifled Essex's attempts to make quick runs in the last 10 overs. Here he is, left-hander on strike to Westley. Westley strays down leg side, but the new batsman unable to take advantage, just tips it round the corner, and there is no run. The score remaining at 182 for 5, target 290. We're in the 32nd over. Westley from the River Taff end bowls, and very studiously forward comes Cooke, plays it back to the bowler, and quite rightly he's playing himself in because there's still a lot of overs to go, and it's no good from the Glamorgan's point of view to players sort of losing their wickets in a desperate attempt to get the scoreboard moving again as he tucks the next ball round the corner, go for a quick single, and Will Buttleman, who's come on as substitute for I'm not sure whom, does the fielding. He wears the number 9 on his back. It's 183 for 5, another 107 needed in 1 ball over 18 overs. As, just underlining how there are 2 new batsmen at the crease. Tom Cullen, who has actually faced the ball but down the other end, now takes guard at this end because he's facing Westley for the first time. We've got 5 men up inside the circle as Westley is in and bowls. Cullen, good use of the feet, but having come down the pitch, just drops a dead bat on the ball to short mid-wicket. There's no run. The 32nd over ends with the board 183 for 5, 1 to each batsman, Cullen and Cooke, as we welcome back Eddie Bevan.
Yeah, 5 wickets have fallen for 4 wickets have fallen for 31 runs, and really some of the Glamorgan batting has been disappointing to say the least after Rutherford Selman have given them such a good start. OK, Carlson was quite a brilliant catch, but it was a short delivery, and then Root had an even shorter delivery, which he slapped straight at cover, and only Reingold knows what he was trying to do, and he was bowled by a ball that is far too well pitched up to him. So they've lost their way. 107 seems a long way away now, but these two can bat. Cooke opened the innings in the 4-day match, and Cullen, he got a 60 or a 70 not out earlier on in the season. So Nijjar bowls and Cooke is forward, plays it gently up to mid-on. I don't think, Mike, that runs per over is a problem, because their run rate is 5.7, and that's really, can just go. And the other point I'll make is in a moment, there is another dot ball, is that Simon Harmer has to bowl 4 overs, and if he's going to be bowling at the tail or lower mid-order tail, that's going to be very challenging. As Nijjar coming to the left-handed Cooke bowls to him, and he tucks this round the corner, and he gets a single. 184 for 5. And it's going to be pretty tense here, because I don't think you're going to see a lot of attacking shots. Cullen especially is a nudge and run. As Nijjar comes round the wicket, bowls, and this is played up to mid-on, a sprawling dive and a good stop there by Harmer, is it?
Yeah, Simon Harmer, yeah.
Harmer, rather. Nijjar doesn't take long to bowl and over, comes in, bowls, well played and well bowled by Nijjar. By Cullen. 1 for 43 at the moment, 1 ball remaining for Nijjar's 8th over. Are you satisfied with that? In he comes, bowls, and this is made into a half volley by Cullen, who drives up to long off for a single. That's the end of the over. 184 for 5. Glamorgan need 105 now to win, and there are 17 overs remaining.
Yeah, it's quite evenly poised, this game at the moment. Glamorgan have got 2 recognised batsmen out there in Cullen and Cooke. Like you said, Edward, Cooke, who's used to opening the innings in the 4-day format. So this isn't too hard for him to navigate these bowlers at the moment. Following that would be Salter, who has scored runs for Glamorgan in the past, and then we get into Weighell, who can into long ball along with Carey and Hogan. So there are batters in there to score another 105 runs for Glamorgan, but they will not want to lose any quick wickets at this delicate stage.
Tom Westley, 6 overs and 2 for 18. He's really changed the match, the captain for Essex here, as he comes in around the wicket and bowls, and no run from the first ball as Cooke plays it to mid-on. 185 for 5. One interesting factor is, after this over, Westley will only have 3 left. Nijjar's got 2 left and Harmer 4. 9 between them. Here's a single to Cooke, moves up to 3. 186 for 5, plays it to backward square leg. Jack Plom fields. The interesting point being, this is the 34th over. Another 9 after this, 43. So Essex have to find another 7 overs from the opening bowlers, of whom Allison was notably expensive. Admittedly, I don't think he'll be hit all round the park to the way that Rutherford hit him till Kingdom Come. Jack Plom is very capable, and of course Ryan Tenderscout has still got a few overs in hand, as Westley around the wicket, bowls to Cooke, single to mid-on, and that takes the score up to 187 for 5. I think that's going to be, indeed. Both batsmen have 3. Westley again in bowls, and this ball is hit by Cooke to long on. may have said Cooke previously. It should have been Cullen who got the previous single. So score to 188 for 5. We're in the 34th over here for BBC Wales, BBC Essex Online. Paul Newton with Eddie Bevan, Mike Powell, and we'll be rejoined by Nick Webb eventually, as here is Westley again, bowls, and this ball's been hit just past the diving mid-off. I think they probably have got a single, because mid-off would have been absolutely on the ground and probably the ball squirting out a yard or so. It's well backed up by long off, and so 4 runs to each of these batsmen. Now Glamorgan 189 for 5 as Westley bowls to Cullen, who's played this ball for a single down to long on. 190 for 5 exactly, 100 more needed for Glamorgan. 5 singles off that over from Westley, 2 for 23 in his 8 overs. Cullen has 5, Cooke 4, 100 needed off a remaining 16 overs.
Yeah, good over for Glamorgan. That just picked up the singles, just easing a little bit of pressure, bring a bit of normality back to their innings. Always breaks off spinners and spinners when you're picking them up for singles, and it's low risk cricket.
Well, we're going to have some pace back at this end. Nijjar has bowled his 8 overs for 44, I think it is, but Jack Plom with that Paul Newton was talking about it a moment ago. He started pretty well. What did he bowl? 4 overs for 21. First 2 overs were excellent, and now he will be bowling, and it looks as if they're going to keep the spinners brought to the end, the accurate Harmer and the other 2 spinners, Nijjar and possibly Westley. But Wesley's figures are outstanding for a part-time off-spinner. 7 overs, 2 for 23.
Well, he just never proves very expensive, and of course in the end he's forced a couple of errors from the Glamorgan batsman.
Plom comes in, bowls short, cut away, but it evades backward point and they go through for a single.
It's amazing how often we see players in the circle diving all over the place, even though they will know secretly that they're not going to be able to lay a hand on the ball.
I think it's one of them when you're in the inner circle. It's proven that if you're diving and stopping a ball, you create more run-outs than not. It's because you create confusion in the batsman. So if there's half a chance of you diving and possibly stopping, you might as well give it a go, because you never know how close you're going to get to that ball.
No, that's true. And you can dissuade them from even taking a single.
Plom then to the left-handed. Cooke comes in, bowls to him, and Cooke is forward, plays it back down the pitch. And of course the new rule that came in last year, you could in the old days with the ball sort of half past you and the batsman wasn't sure he could pick. Yeah, but of course you penalise now for doing that, which I find a very odd rule.
Yes, there's a lot of odd rules about.
Yes. I'm going to give you, if I can see it, let's have a look at the test score, but I'll just watch. As Plom comes in, short, bowls, and Cooke tried to pull it down the leg side. I got a glove of it, or I might have just hit the pad. Anyway, it was a glove, and they get a single. See, Coley dropped a sitter about 10 minutes ago, and it's 85-4-5 at the moment.
Butler and Moeen Ali trying to block out and stop India winning.
And here Plom comes in, bowls the right-handed Cullen, who plays it nicely down to long leg. They'll think of a second here, and they run well between wickets. There's Cullen. 2 more runs, 184 for 5. It's rebuilding time as the chase now is down to under 100. It's 96, but a long way to go. Good game of cricket, and I'm sure that a pretty good crowd here, because as opposed to England, you can't get more than a couple of thousand in.
Yeah, 194 for 5, and the sort of policy of Glamorgan, I think, should be just keep the ball on the ground for the next 6 or 7 overs.
Or just push it around.
Yeah, exactly.
In comes Plom, bowls, and that's chipped down into the gully. It's just accuracy you want now, because there's no threat, I don't think, from Plom that the ball is swinging or moving about. You just got to knock that back of a length.
That's right, and from Glamorgan's point of view, although they might eventually have to speed up, but they can't afford to keep losing wickets. That's the big point. They can still only be 5 down in 6 overs' time. You know, they've got a good basis in the last 10 overs.
It's a short ball, well controlled, pull down the long leg by Cullen, and 5 runs off that over takes Glamorgan to 195 for 5, this after 35 overs. And I suppose it's anybody's game, really. Well, that Essex were bowled out with a couple of balls to go for 289. Cooke taking 5 for 61. Hogan 1 for 21. Reingold 1 for 37. Salter 1 for 39. And they were career best for Mr. Cooke. And now then, this will be the test.
Yes, Simon Harmer,
Michael Powell. The accurate and teasing and probably, I think, easily the best off spinner in England, if one of the top 5 in the world.
Yeah, he's got 4 of these last 15 remaining overs to bowl.
Here's the first of them.
No, he's teasing you. Missed his run up then.
And it comes in from the river tap end. Bowls, and first ball's whipped away for a single by Tom Cullen. Moves into double figures and score to 196 for 5.
Essex just desperately trying to string a couple of dot balls together, aren't they? Trying to create a little bit of pressure. At the moment, we'll do a great job just picking up the singles. That board, scoreboard ticking over.
There's partnerships so far worth 14. And Harmer's in. Bowls very carefully. Joe Cooke returns it whence it came. And score remaining 196 for 5. 35.2 overs gone. Plenty of time left for Glamorgan to get the runs they need, but they mustn't keep losing wickets as Harmer's in. Bowls, and this ball's driven nicely down to long off, and there'll be a single there as Paul Walter fields, and 197 for 5.
I suspect that the coach has said, David Harrison, you be careful against Harmer. He's going to bowl another 4 overs. Just play him, get the odd single.
Harmer bowls, and again played down to long on, the right-hand batsman here. Again, it's Paul Walter, this time long on, but he hasn't actually really moved from the 2 positions. Left-hander getting a single, right-hander getting a single. So now 11 to Cullen, 6 to Cooke, who comes back into strike. 198 for 5. Another 92 needed for Glamorgan. And here, a nice bit of tip and run. Just letting the ball hit the bat there, and the precise lack of strength in the shot meant that the single could easily be accomplished. 199 for 5 with Cooke up to 7. Harmer to complete the over. Bowls to Cullen. Cullen flicks this one away for a single. Very good cricket from the Glamorgan 6th wicket pair. In fact, for 2 runs, coming back for a second, and they're safely home. That's very good running. Applause for the 200, and probably even more applause for how intelligently the Glamorgan batsman played in that over, taking no risks at all and proving that runs really can be picked up pretty cheaply here. 6 runs off the over, 13 to Cullen and 7 to Cooke. 201 for 5, so 89 are needed from the final 14 overs.
Well, I would say, Mike, that 6 runs from Simon Harmer, and this after he has bowled his 7th over, they'll be perfectly happy with that.
Oh, well, that's what required, isn't it, on the run rate? So just over 6, they'll take that. What really hurt Harmer is that drop and run they had halfway through that over. Just a forward defensive drop, and they came through for a single.
Jack Plom about to start his 6th over, and he's going away from us and bowling short. That's 4 runs down the leg side, drifting down there. And Cooke just watched it. A big roll from the Welsh. Oh, it's leg byes. I swore that he'd got a nick on that, but 4 runs is 4 runs.
Yeah, poor ball from Plom, and really a very basic effort there, error there, because straying onto leg stump is exactly what he shouldn't be doing.
Takes the pressure off the over, doesn't it? 4 runs from the first.
And the batsman hasn't even had to lay bat on ball.
Plom is in again, bowls, that's a better delivery, nudged down to the deep gully.
I must say, Mike, for me, the very basic thing that I think you ought to be able to expect from all bowlers, they can't bowl wicket-taking balls all the time, but to err in terms of direction, because you can see the stumps there, they're guiding you really. You shouldn't be doing that more than once in a blue moon.
Plom comes in again, ball short, nudge down, think about run, no. Says, so he bowled a couple of good balls now. Exactly what you were talking about, Paul and Mike, is just back of a length. How do you hit it? Can't.
There'll be different factors on why you're not hitting your length. You know, it could be tiredness, could be nerves, there's lots of different factors they'll throw into it. But ideally, you want your stock delivery to be somewhere in and around back of on off stump.
It's just that boundary so far after the first three. As Plom comes in, bowls to Cooke short. Cooke pulls and is going to get 4 runs, I think. Yes, he does. Well struck by Joe Cooke, and every run is cheered now. And that's 8 runs off this over so far. Priceless, in fact, for Glamorgan.
Well, this is the way cricket goes. It's what makes it such an exciting game, because first one side has a clear advantage, and then 2 or 3 wickets go down, and then the other side. And certainly when Selman was out, it looked as though Essex were really right back in the game with a vengeance. But these two have played well. They haven't hit the ball in the air, and they're showing that if you play with your head and keep the ball down, there's no reason why you shouldn't pick up 6 runs and over here.
Still 2 balls left, 8 runs off the over, and it will be Plom. Over the wicket, bowls short, tucked away, and they run the first one quickly, and they don't want to run another, I wouldn't have thought.
I say this very respectfully of Walter and Wheater when they were batting the first innings, but if Essex have a bit more of this,
yes,
a little bit more sense of running and then picking up the bad deliveries, hitting before, there could have been, like you say, there could have been a 320 to chase, which puts a completely different slant on this game.
Well, as you said at the time, don't get ahead of the game, wait until the right moment.
Last ball of the over, and comes Plom, passed on by Gould, and it's guided away, but this time to backward point. That's the end of an over, which yielded 9 runs, and Glamorgan, needing 290 to win, have now moved on. And as I'm about to give you the scores, so the scores go off the board, and there are pictures on it, so I think it's 210.
It is.
Lords is a place for that, for all of us are in looking up. And the weather forecast is on the scoreboard.
Yes, that's right. I was going to say, at least here, they are replaying some actual cricket action, but sometimes it's an advert up there, and Chelmsford are terrible at that. You look up to see the score at the end of the over, you say, so that's the end of that over, and you can't see which over it is and what the score is. It does make it very
give us a score. They go going down the motorway.
And as a commentator, you just have to play for time and hope that.
Well, I can tell you, it's 210.
Yeah. 13 to Cullen, 12 to Cooke. They played very well, the pair of them so far. Harmer in from the river tap end and begins with a delivery which Cooke plays to short mid-wicket, Aron Nijjar, and there is no run. 210 for 5. We've had 37.1 overs. Another 80 are needed as Harmer around the wicket, river tap end bowls, and no run here, dabbed into the offside, and
beautifully bowled.
Yep, Cooke was looking for a repeat of the stolen single in the previous over, but this time didn't quite get the direction right, and Benkenstein, the substitute, was quickly in, and Harmer in again. Bowls and hit back to the bowler, in a misfield by Harmer, which is terribly unlike him, and he will be mortified because he was on the cusp there of half a maiden over, and instead the single releases the pressure. 211 for 5, and by Harmer's standards that was a poor misfield.
Don't often you see that.
Each batsman has 13. Harmer's in again. Bowls, and this ball's hit and very well stopped at mid-on, so they don't get a run. That's a good bit of fielding by Doeschate. We nearly always say that if there's a good bit of fielding, there's a 50-50 chance. It's the former Essex captain. He's still brilliant at the age of 41. Harmer bowls again. This ball squirted round the corner again. There won't be a run. This is an excellent over from Simon Harmer. Not one, let it be said, that's in any way threatened a wicket, but obviously Essex are hoping to put a bit of pressure on.
But you do add the 9 from the last over to 1 in this over,
yes,
and it just evens out.
Quite right, as Harmer bowls again, and this ball will produce just the second single in the over. 212 for 5. The over ends with another 78 needed, but a point I made a little while ago I think is very relevant. The previous over, which, as you say, went for 9, is one of the quicker bowlers, and Essex would dearly like here really to be able to bowl spin right the way through to the end of the innings, because it's the quicker bowlers who are not bowling accurately enough and are going for runs.
And the big point, I think, Michael, is that they'll be watching this and saying, right, Harmer's, I don't know when you were playing, Harmer's bowled 8, he is the threat. He's got another 12 balls to bowl. If we can get 5 or 6, we've done our job.
Yeah, and the run rate required is just 6.5, so that's it's well within range for the batsmen that are out there. You agree, but I think where some, possibly the seam bowlers here today for Essex have gone, right, I need to bowl people out. Well, there's other ways of getting people out. Rather than bowl the perfect and ultimate delivery or try to outthink them, actually bowling 6 dot balls in a reasonably good area, like you say, Edward, adds pressure to the batsman, and then the batsman feels like he has to score runs. He has to do something out of the ordinary.
And I don't think they are under pressure at the moment, the batsmen.
No, and Michael Hogan hadn't taken a wicket through his 10th over, but he was outstanding.
Nijjar's back in the attack. He has got 2 overs left, and he comes in to bowl to Cullen, who comes down the pitch and gets inside that and plays it up to long on, the 6'7" giant.
The fact that
Walter single.
The fact that Tom Westley has had to take Jack Plom off again after just 1 over, it shows that he's very concerned at the runs that are coming from the quicker bowlers.
Nijjar over the wicket, bowls the left-handed Cooke. He comes down the pitch and drives it back. There's a long on here, but Cooke, who does hit straight and long, might be eyeing that offside. Here's Nijjar, and this time it's driven, and they'll go for a quick single. They'll have to be quick.
Oh, yeah.
And if that had hit, I'm afraid Cooke, with a very, very ill-judged run, would have been out by 2 yards. I make the point again. Paul Newton, how many run-outs have you seen from direct hits this season? I have not seen one.
Frighteningly few.
Amazing when they practice so much.
That was Doeschate as well.
Nijjar, wide of the crease, bowls and short. Cut away by Cullen for a single up to deep extra cover. The score goes on to 215 for 5. You almost think, though, well, he's going to miss.
You've got to pick your fielders. If you're going to go for quick singles, you can't run a quick single to Doeschate or Kiran Carlson in the Glamorgan team.
It's on the pad, Cooke being a little bit ambitious and coming down the pitch, and Nijjar saw him coming, and nice over this, 1 ball to go.
What Glamorgan need to bear in mind in terms of not taking silly runs is that Nijjar's only got 1 left after this, Harmer 2, and Westley I think 3 at the most.
This is tucked round the corner, and they're going to get a single for it. Well run by Cullen, going to the danger end. Another useful over. That's the end of it. 216 for 5. I know it's your turn, Paul, but I've got to do a Welsh piece in 5 minutes' time. So Nick is going to come back in, and I shall relieve you as soon as I can. I suppose you don't mind.
Thank you very much to Eddie Bevan. Careful on your way out. There's a tripwire there, quite literally. Yeah, it's a little bit like a show jumping course. 4 faults very easily conceded. 216 for 5, and we have had 39 overs. 11 overs remain. There are 74 needed. The point for Mike Powell here is that we did get the impression that the ball had become a little bit harder to time and get hold of in the last 10 overs for Essex. It's going to be interesting to see if that phenomenon occurs here. As Westley is in and bowls, and that ball has been hit away for 4. That's a good shot. That's the first boundary for quite a while, and Cooke has played that ball away over mid-wicket in the air, but perfectly safely. Very good pick-up indeed. A powerful man, and scored to 220 for 5 and Cooke to 90. Westley again, River Tap end. Bowls, Cooke drives, single to long off. Paul Walter 221 for 5, Cooke up to 20.
Creeping into the last 10 overs here, and the longer this goes on, the desperate Essex will be trying to break this partnership. It looks very easy at the moment for Glamorgan.
40th over being bowled now, and Westley, who so far has proved unusually expensive by his standards, bowls, and this time it's a dot ball to Doeschate at mid-wicket. The batsman is Tom Cullen, who has 16 runs, and Westley bowls to him, and he whips this ball away to mid-wicket, gets a single, and that's 222 for 5. Double Nelson on the board, and we saw Nelson weave its evil wand for Essex earlier on when the first wicket went down at 111. Combination of Nelson and Reingold. As this next ball is hit back to Westley, a dot ball, but Cooke has has done the important work for the over already. He's on 20. Cullen 17. 222 for 5, 68 more needed, and we're coming to the end of this over. The last ball of it is hit firmly out to cover for a single. 223 for 5, 67 off the final 10 overs. And, well, you can say it should be routine, but certainly Essex struggled to make anything of the last 10, so let's not prejudge the issue here. An exciting finish in prospect, I think we can say. 223 for 5 in 40.
Yeah, there's a huge difference, though, in setting a total and chasing a total down, when you know exactly what you need each over, rather than just hitting into the wilderness of, right, we need to get a good score. In mind, Essex were not 100% sure what would be a good score, because they're playing away from home on an unfamiliar wicket for many of the players out there, so that would be hugely in Glamorgan's favour, chasing down this total.
Doeschate coming back into the attack.
Yes, I don't think routine is going to be the word, to be honest. I think it's going to be a bit harem-scared of runs, as the crowd really getting into everything, and Glamorgan move on to 225 for 5, and not the biggest of crowds, couple of thousand scattered down beneath us in this big 15,000-seater stadium. But good to hear the crowd getting into it, as that's a booming ball outside off stump, and it's driven by Cooke through the covers, and that is going to reach the ropes at wide long off for 4. So Glamorgan have got 6 in this over, and if they can get it down below a runner ball at any stage, then I might be prepared to accept that they're favourites again.
Well, there are only 5 overs left that can be bowled by spin. Now, whether Westley's brought Doeschate back thinking, well, I could bowl him the last 5 overs from the Cathedral Road end, but then again, he in turn is proving expensive, underlining the problem Essex have with the non-spin bowlers.
Doeschate is in to bowl, again a half volley outside off stump, again Cooke drives, this time a sliding stop by Westley. That wide long off keeps them down to a single. Have we spotted Alastair Cooke?
No, I haven't seen him for quite some time, and I think he's been off for over an hour now, and probably won't be returning.
Didn't notice him taking a knock at all.
No.
Did you, Mike? Sir Alastair? No,
He can do what he wants. He's done enough in the game.
230 for 5. He's off to bat for England, maybe. As that's outside off stump and caned away by Cullen, but he'll only pick up a single out towards the cover sweeper, and the crowd are really applauding everything now in these closing stages here at Sapphire Gardens.
Well, plenty of time for a few twists and turns yet, but the way these two are playing, you'd have to think that they have a chance of taking Glamorgan over the line.
Oof. As Cooke plays that one away on the leg side and will take a single. So Glamorgan working Doeschate around intelligently. 9 off this over so far, with 1 ball to come. 232 for 5. Glamorgan need 58 off 9.1. Cullen on strike on 18 not out. As Westley is sorting his field out, calling a man in off the fine leg boundary. He's got 2-3 back on the leg side in the deep as Cullen drives square on the offside. So a good over for Glamorgan, 10 runs off it, and the equation as now is 57 off 9.
Yeah, worrying times for Essex out there. Cullen and Cooke beautifully for Glamorgan, doing a great job. Very low risk cricket, keeping up with the run rate, just requiring just over 6s, just picking off the half volleys or leg stump balls that they can score from, taking very, very low risk. That's the problem for Essex. It looks very, very easy for Glamorgan.
51 now, the 50 partnership up for the 3rd time in the Glamorgan innings, and these two have played ever so well, because I think the moral of the story has been that if you don't hit catches, you're not going to be out in any other way, as Westley comes in from the River Tap end and bowls, and Cullen steps away and hits this ball down to Walter at long on, single. 234 for 5. That's all Glamorgan need to keep doing. And Cullen has 20. Cooke into strike on 29. Cooke has played particularly well here. Faces Westley and dabs him into the onside. Another easy single. And that's scored to 235 for 5.
9.5 overs for the half-century partnership.
Yes, when the fifth wicket fell, which was the sheet anchor Nick Selman out for 59, I think Essex would have fancied their chances. Not so sure now, as the next ball's hit back to the bowler on the bump ball, and the score 235 for 5. Another 55 needed, and they have 8.3 overs to do it in. 51 deliveries. Here's another single. Just played with no hint of a risk whatsoever out to Khushi, coming off the cover boundary. And Cullen goes to 21, and Cooke into strike has 30.
Glamorgan with some strikers to come, so I think even if one of these is out now, they're close enough to have a go.
Westley bowls, and Cooke, for once, a slightly false shot, but the ball just rolls out, possibly just off pad, to Benkenstein, the substitute, in the offside. No run. 236 for 5. 54 more. Westley in his penultimate over. Bowls forced off the back foot to mid-off. There's no run there. So more good bowling from Westley. He's now bowled 9 overs and taken 2 for 33. Well, it was always going to be the case the spinners were going to provide the biggest threat to Glamorgan, but at the moment it's not as if the ball is turning or wickets look particularly likely. It's just about keeping ahead for Glamorgan. This pair have so far done it very well. 42 overs gone, 8 overs, 48 deliveries to get the further 54.
Just 3 off that one. 54 now off 8. 6.8 is the required run rate as Aron Nijjar will come back into the attack. This is his last over. He's got 1 for 48. Harmer's got 2 left. Westley 1 left. As that's outside off stump, and Cullen tries to cut and misses. So still a bit of pressure on the batsman. This isn't going to be a walk in the park by any means here at Sapphire Gardens. Now overcast. Nijjar bowls, and Cullen drives that one straight to short mid-wicket, coming down the pitch, but thought better of attempting the big shot. 236 for 5. Cullen on 21. That's wide of off stump, driven through the covers, but stopped by... the sweeper on the cover boundary, or towards the cover boundary, and that's good fielding from young Ben Allison, who made them really scramble for the second run, having dashed around the ropes pavilion. 238 for 5. 2 off 3 balls in this over, and Cullen's beaten by that one as he comes down the wicket. He's starting to look to hit over the top. Mid-wicket is dispatched towards the boundary. Now there's actually a 2 there if he plays it gently in that area, I think. Nijjar's in, bowls to Cullen, that's fired down the leg side, and Cullen just watches it go past. Ironic cheers from the crowd, who thought an earlier delivery ought to have been called wide, but must have just flicked the batsman on the way through. Nijjar bowls down the wicket, comes Cullen, does play it out into the leg side, but a little too strongly to try to come back for the second, as Harmer comes it off that mid-wicket boundary. So 4 off 5 balls so far in this over. The left-handed Joe Cooke is on strike on 30 not out. As Cooke plays another one back to the bowler. 240 for 5. Essex is over. Glamorgan lead 50 off 7.
Rate just for the first time creeping into the 7s, but that isn't anything that Glamorgan batsmen need to worry about. 7 overs remaining, 50 required to win this game, but you've got Cullen batting very well on 24 and Cooke even better on 30, close to run a ball. He's doing very, very well.
Just as echoes of the last game here, Mike, that where Glamorgan fell just short against Yorkshire.
Slightly different styles for the Yorkshire team. I think the opening bowlers are a bit more about them than the Essex have got here, so that will go against Essex today, I think.
Yes, Essex badly lacking a major threat from any of their quicker bowlers. And so 50 off 7 overs, and various thoughts spring to mind here. Glamorgan have done well enough now for Tom Westley really have to bowl his spinners out sooner than he'd have wanted to, which means that in about 3 overs time he's going to have to finish with the last 4 overs all being among the quicker bowlers as Harmer is in bowls, and this ball is hit down to long on by Tom Cullen, who moves along to 25, 241 for 5, 49 needed of 41 deliveries, and England now, since I last looked, have lost 2 more wickets and are 90 for 7.
Well, that's 3 wickets to survive 21.2 overs. India favourites,
to say the very least, as Harmer is in and bowls to Cooke, and Cooke, it's very well fielded, but even then they'll be able to get home for the single. Doeschate, more brilliant work there in the field. Again, his throw almost hits the wicket direct, but I'm pretty sure Joe Cooke was home anyway. He moves to 31, 242 for 5, 48 more needed, 40 deliveries, and down the pitch comes Cullen. He's hit it in the air and safely, 1 bounce, 4 over mid-wicket, 246 for 5, and that's a big blow in the context of what's needed.
And that's the problem for Essex. They're only really Glamorgan 1 good shot away from it being an adequate over.
Yes, I mean, Cullen, rather, if he plays his cards right, can reason that that's quite enough for 1 over, especially as Harmer only has 1 more after this. And this ball, good cricket, just dabbed into the onside single. And Gooch always worked off the Maxim boundary single. Don't try to go to the well too often, too quickly. 247 for 5, 43 more needed, and still 6 overs, 2 balls remain. The next one is hit away for another single to the man on the cover boundary, Ben Allison, and 248 for 5. And this over proving quite an expensive one for Harmer. 1 for 41 as he comes toward the end of his 9th over. Essex desperately need him to find a wicket here. He comes in around the wicket, bowls, and this ball just takes the batsman, who is well advanced, on the pad. End of the over, 248 for 5, and so 8 runs came from it. 32 to Cooke, 30 to Cullen. An excellent 6-wicket partnership, so far having put on 66 runs in very decent time, and so 6 overs remain with 42 runs needed, exactly 7 and over.
It's going to be a fascinating finish, as Glamorgan just need a big shot in each over. Another wicket or 2, and Essex are very much right back in it here at Sapphire Gardens, with a place at the final in Trent Bridge on Thursday at stake.
I think I might have been tempted, if I were Westley, to bring Paul Walter on, who does bowl. He's not a very occasional bowler. He can be expensive, but he might just left arm over provide a variety.
Doeschate bowls, and the first ball is flat batted back past him by Joe Cooke. It was in the air. Doeschate stuck out a hand but couldn't get anything on it, and a valuable boundary for Joe Cooke, tennis style, up to the boundary in front of us.
He's done that a couple of times this year, actually more than a couple of times. He's really gone hard on the first ball of the over, ending up with a boundary off the first ball of the over. Takes the pressure off for the rest of it. All of a sudden you pick up your singles, and there we are. You've got 8-9 from an over before you know it.
So Joe Cooke, in his first white ball campaign for Glamorgan, is playing a useful role for the side.
Well, got 5 wickets as well.
Cooke drives that one up towards long on. They'll look for 2. Walter comes in. They have to hurry. He'd struck there. Then Cullen might have been struggling, but Glamorgan taking on the challenge and getting back for the 2 runs. 254 for 5. 36 needed. 5 overs to come off this one. After this one, squeezed away on the offside. There's a misunderstanding. Oh, it could be a run out. There should be a run out. There isn't a run out. Chaos. Cullen was halfway down. Cooke sent him back. The throw came into the bowler, who had really... Essex went for the shy at the wicket from Benkenstein, and Tenderskata missed it.
I think Tenderskata had his back to the batsman who was running back into the crease. Didn't realise how much time he had. Could have done with just gathering and whipping the bails off himself.
254 for 5. It's a dot ball. Tenderskata's in. Cooke drives it back to him. Scrambling stop by Tenderskata, so pulling himself back in this over.
Yeah, the two batsmen just need to calm down a bit here. They don't need a run out because, they're well ahead of the clock. They've also started hitting boundaries. And, if they just get a boundary and over, then, they're virtually home and dried.
In comes Tenderskata, right arm round, bowls to Joe Cooke, who's hit on the pad. This time there is an easy single. Was there a bit of bat in there? Yes, there was, just about. The ball trickled out on the leg side. Joe Cooke's certainly got a long enough stride to eat up the ground. Tall man, around the 6'3" mark.
And here we see the benefit from Glamorgan's point of view of how well they did in the last 10 overs of the Essex innings, because if Essex had got 320, I don't think Glamorgan would have got there, but they ought to be able to get to 290.
As Tenderskata is into Cullen on 30 not out, drives on the offside, and they'll just settle for a single. Allison doing the fielding, sweeper on the cover boundary, 256 for 5. Glamorgan need 34 off 5 overs.
So it's just a fraction under 7 and over. Now, while these two are together, that should be a piece of cake. If the wicket goes down, a new batsman has to come, and even though I respect your point that there are hitters to come, but it's not necessarily, if the ball's getting a bit softer as it did in the Essex final overs, it wouldn't necessarily be quite so easy.
But Essex, they've had their opportunity, and I think they've missed 2 run-outs, possibly 3 run-outs with this innings, so they've had their opportunity to take a hold of this game. But at the moment, with 5 overs remaining, 34 runs needed, 2 batsmen set, for me there's only 1 winner at this stage.
Yep. No, I agree. It's been a bit like watching England the other day. They had several shies at the stumps and they all missed. As Westley to bowl his final over comes up from the river tap end. The ball has struck the umpire. Hopefully Gunnar Gold is none the worse. At least he's well padded as that ball was hit firmly into the onside. The batsmen take a single and 257 for 5. He's showing no sign of stoical response, Ian Gold there, but that was painful, I'm sure. Obviously a complete accident. So we have a hold up while probably someone will come on from the physio departments to just check that he's none the worse.
He's tough as boots, Ian Gold. He's alright. I think they've got him in the shin there, tried to get out the way of it, and unfortunately it's bounced up and flicked him on the shin, but he's alright. He's been checked by his opposite number, Michael Burns, to see if he's alright, and yeah, he's fine. Let's get on with it.
So 257 for 5 on the board. Another 33 needed. Westley bowls and ball is played down to long off for a single. 258 for 5. Cooke moves to 40 and has played thoroughly well here. Just provided a splendid mix of keeping his head and the odd belligerent blow to the boundary. Wesley's in again, bowls, and Cullen has hit this ball down and over the boundary at a cross between wide long on and a straightish mid-wicket, and the ball goes right down into the far corner of the ground, and that is 262 for 5, and Cullen has 36, and this is good progress. Even against the few overs left to spin, Glamorgan have been making good progress. Westley in his final over bowls. No run here as Cullen plays it straight to Aron Nijjar at shortish extra cover. 262 for 5, 28 more needed, and we still have 26 deliveries left as Westley bowls, and this ball again has been leathered down the ground. One bounce single. Cullen to 37. It's 263 for 5, 27 needed off 25 balls. Only just over 6 and over needed now as Westley around the wicket is in and bowls to Cooke, who gets a single to long on, and that takes it 264 for 5, 26 needed for Glamorgan to get to Thursday's final. They have 4 overs to do it. Eddie, would you like to come back on?
Depends if you want to see it through, Paula, from the Essex point of view.
No, not particularly. I think Glamorgan looked like winning, so I will happily make way for one of the legends of Welsh broadcasting, Eddie Bevan.
Thank you, Paul. Word from Mike Powell. Uh, 26 off 4. Glamorgan, favourites, not over the line as yet.
It's got to that stage, Nick, where you're not very comfortable in saying that Glamorgan have got a very good chance of winning this game. That's probably why you've handed it over to me. Glamorgan, I'll say it how it is. Glamorgan in a great position here to get themselves to a taking me out here.
Shouldn't have done.
Paul's just taken my microphone out there.
No, it was just your headphones, Mike.
So
you were still...
we're still okay, right.
You're still
so
okay.
Glamorgan in a great, as I was saying, Glamorgan in a great position here to get themselves to a final later on in this week. Just 26 runs required to bring the game home from 4 overs. Captain Westley's having a chat with his bowler Plom at the top of his mark. He's gone for 31 from his 6, who's been reasonably expensive today. Started off bowling very well at the top of the innings, but just slightly wayward in his last two overs here. Be very careful, Westley, where he puts his field this important stage of this game.
What a wonderful don't think you can hear me. What a wonderful partnership this has been, whether Glamorgan win or lose. 82 by these two young players. And I know we would have been trembling if you are a Glamorgan supporter. 182 for 5. 4 wickets having gone down for 31. It's just still some time to go, but as Mike Powell said, a very good chance of Glamorgan winning this game and going to Trent Bridge. Jack Plom to bowl then. He has bowled 6 overs and he'll captain. As Mike said, want him to bowl accurately here. He'll be bowling to the left-handed Joe Cooke. He comes in round the wicket and bowls to Cooke. Cooke goes for the big hit. He's going to get 4. First bounce. Beautiful shot. Over the top, 4 runs. Now, what a bonus that is from the first ball of the over, Mike.
We were saying earlier, he's targeted the first ball of every over and trying to be really aggressive and just take a boundary away from it so it takes the pressure off the rest of the over. He's done exactly the same. He's given himself a little bit of room, got that front leg out of the way and hammered that ball straight. Couple of bounces, 4 runs. Great start to the innings, to the over.
266 for 5 and Cooke is on 45. 22 needed. Plom comes round the wicket, bowls to Cooke again. Cooke has hit this over cover. That's going up towards the boundary. It won't be before they cross for 1. They're coming back for a second. And Cooke, that was placement of the highest order by Cooke there.
Yeah, very good shot there, just easing it over cover for the Cooke. Didn't try to overhit it, did he?
No.
Just picked up a couple of runs there. They've got their runs for this over, so from here it's all bonus time.
How sensibly these two young players. His first full season in the Glamorgan side. Cullen, we've seen him do this before. Very, very underrated batsman. Round the wicket again comes Plom, bowls short, very short, that's 4. And Glamorgan at the moment look as if they're going to win it with something to spare. We already had 10 off these first 3 balls. And the body language of Essex, I'm afraid, if you're an Essex supporter, is not good. With 16 runs needed, and that is a wonderful 50 for Chris Cooke, for Joe Cooke. Chris Cooke would have been proud of it.
50 balls, 6 fours.
Wonderful. 274 for 5. Still only halfway through this over. Don't throw it away now. Probably the coaches are saying. As Cooke waits, round the wicket comes Plom, bowls to him. It's a bit nonplussed. They go for a quick single and it hits the batsman's bat and they safely cross for a single and the score moves on to 275. How many years have I been coming here and watching Glamorgan lose?
Quite a long time, Edward.
Yeah, and watching Glamorgan's semi-finals, quarter-finals. We had a horrible day many years ago against Warwickshire back in the 70s when people were eating their picnics at 2:45 in the afternoon.
Oh, yes.
And a glorious day, and the game was over. Then we went down to Sussex and were winning that game easily, and that resulted in Glamorgan not going to Lords as it was then.
And one in Essex as well.
Yeah, I think I'd better stop there. When he went into the second day, Plom is going over the wicket to the right-handed Cullen. He's in and bowls to him, and Cullen plays sensibly, drives up to mid-on. That's a very good over for Glamorgan. Another single. And at the end of that over, Glamorgan are 276 for 5. They need 14 runs. And there are 18 balls remaining. Mike Powell.
Well, come on, Nick. At least you now can say that Glamorgan have got a very good chance. Yes. If I hear that first.
Yes, you've got the admission, Mike.
Well done.
Under tough cross-examination. Ever worked as a solicitor? Mike will be on BBC Radio Wales in about 10 minutes.
Ball left. Plom comes in, ball short. That's going to be 4 more. Glamorgan are winning this at a canter. Brilliant play by Joe Cooke. Short ball, chopped over backward point. Third man was up. And I think now Glamorgan are going to win this. They only need 10 and 18 balls left. Come on, Nick. Let's hope you do it. You've been busy.
Confirmation of Joe Cooke's 50 stats. 50 off 50. 6 fours and, It's been a remarkable resurgence in the Glamorgan effort after Essex really looked to have put the brakes on in mid-innings, but in the end, Tom Westley, the skipper, despite a valiant performance with the ball himself, Mike didn't quite have enough to force home the mid-innings advantage.
No, I think it's credit to the ground staff how good this wicket has been. I mean, scoring best part of 290 and then being chased
600 runs.
What do we know? Big pat on the back for the ground staff producing this, and we've had some brilliant batting on it as well.
So it's sorry, Nick, stealing your thunder.
It is Harmer to bowl his final over. 9 overs, 1 for 41. Bowls to Joe Cooke, who works it away on the leg side. They'll take 2 as it's between the outfielders there, and Cullen comes back for the second. Tom Cullen moves on to 40 not out. Joe Cooke is 56 not out, and Cullen with a valuable supporting role. Well, we've had some exciting finishes in the Royal London One Day Cup, despite the counter-attractions elsewhere, as Harmer bowls and Cooke flat bats it up to long on. Cullen flat bats it up to long on for a single, bringing the left-handed Joe Cooke onto strike. He's had such a role in this game today. Joe Cooke, 561, all right, he was expensive, but he took the wickets that allowed Glamorgan to put the brakes on. Harmer into Joe Cooke, who steps back and plays it straight to cover, no run. Are we going to go to the last over? 7 to win for Glamorgan, 283 for 5. Essex have 6 players up in the circle. Joe Cooke drives back to the bowler. Harmer giving it everything still. Plunges to field himself in his follow-through. Good effort there from the experienced South African, who's worked hard, but 1 for 44 doesn't really reflect the threat that he's posed, as Joe Cooke slams one back over his head for 4. 3 to win. Glamorgan on the verge of a one-day final, as Joe Cooke really has played superbly in this match.
Man of the match, I think.
3 to win. 13 balls remain. Harmer bowls to Joe Cooke, who finishes it in style with a huge 6 as the ball goes soaring out of the ground, and Glamorgan are there with 2 overs to spare. By 5 wickets they've beaten Essex, and Glamorgan are in their first one-day final since 2013. Mike Powell, what an effort.
What an effort, what a game, well done. They had some easy games in this comp, but this wasn't one of them. This is a good Essex team they faced today, and they've put in a performance that justifies them getting to the final this week. What a performance from Joe Cooke. 5 with the ball, 66 not out with the bat, and finishing the game with a huge 6 that ended up somewhere near the River Taff.
2 overs to spare. Cooke 66 not out. Cullen 41 not out. So half centuries from the openers as well. Mike Powell will go and talk to BBC Radio Wales in around about 10 minutes time, and Edward will go and help that process, and we'll get no, Paul isn't in for the time being, but a fine fight from Essex, who really have made a tremendous game of this. We thought it might be a winning total for the visitors, but commiserations to our Essex listeners. That flying start from Alastair Cooke and Josh Rymell, and the half century from Paul Walter, it wasn't quite enough for the visitors, as Glamorgan have taken it back off Essex, really. I thought Essex were favourites halfway through.
I agree with you there, Nick. We had a little chat, and I thought that was too big against this attack, but one can't speak highly of that 6-wicket pair of Cullen and Cooke. They put on 111, and at 182 for 5, I must confess, I thought, well, I think Essex are staunch favourites, but the way they played, people like Harmer was ideal. They didn't try and hit him out of sight, except until the last ball of the match. They played him sensibly, but we must commend Rutherford, especially on Nick Selman. Yet an excellent start, 95 for the first wicket. Ruthless was Rutherford, he made 67, he had 3 or 4 sixes. Selman made 59, Carlson did his bit, 36, and all of a sudden Root went for 3, Reingold went for 10, but these two, as I mentioned, they deserve huge credit for winning that game at the end, and this is a moment for savour for Glamorgan. The only thing is that people want to go to Trent Bridge, and thanks to the ECB's strange decision to hold this on a Thursday, a working day, and to go all the way to Nottingham. One can't quite understand that, but there we are. We'll all be going up there, and hope that you manage to get there.
Indeed so. If you can't get there, then Mike, Edward and myself will be there on Thursday, and thank you very much indeed for listening. Glamorgan reached 293 for 5. They have defeated Essex by 5 wickets with 2 overs to spare, and as I say, we'll be back with commentary on the final on Thursday. It's a 1 o'clock start at Trent Bridge. Thank you very much indeed for listening. Commiserations to our visitors from Essex, from Paul, from Edward, Mike and myself, Nick Webb. Very good evening. Noswaith.